That's unfortunate. All right, welcome. Um, we are going to be doing a debate today, and I am gonna just do about 25 minutes of research for debate, just so I can get my sources together. As it's something that I've looked into in the past already, so I kind of already know what I want to say, but yeah. European immigration. What is critical race theory and why is it under attack? So this was from May 18th, 2021. Is critical race theory a way of understanding how American racism has shaped public policy or divisive discourse that pits people of color against white people? Liberals and conservatives are in sharp disagreement. The topic has exploded in the public arena this spring, especially in K through 12, where numerous state legislators are debating bills seeking to ban its use in the classroom. In truth, the divides are not nearly as neat as they may seem. The events of the last decade have increased public awareness about things like housing segregation and the impact of criminal justice policies in the 1900s. Is there a mute on this? Test. Okay, it does have a mute. Fantastic. The events of the last decade. Okay, I've already. School boards, superintendents, even principals and teachers are already facing questions about critical race theory. And there are significant disagreements. Ooh, you know what would be really good? Christopher Rufo. This is the guy. Critical race theory is the perfect villain. Okay. As Rufo officially came to see it, conservatives engaged in the culture war had been fighting against the same progressive racial ideology since late in the Obama years without ever being able to describe it effectively. We needed a new language for these issues, Rufo told me when I wrote to him late in May. Political correctness is a dated term and, more importantly, doesn't apply anymore. It's not that the elites are enforcing a set of manners and cultural limits, they are seeking to re engineer the foundation of human psychology and social institutions through the new through the new politics of race. It's much more invasive than mere correctness, which is a mechanism of social control, but not the heart of what's happening. The others frame the other frames are wrong too. Cancel culture is a vacuous term and doesn't translate into a political program. Woke is a good woke is a good what is this? I don't know how to say that.
Epithet. Epithet.
Epithet. Epithet, but it's too broad, too terminal, too easily brushed aside. Critical race theory is a perfect villain, Rufo wrote. Oh my gosh, there's a quote that I'm looking for. Okay. I gotta stop looking for this and. $130. Okay. Gosh, how the fuck do I explain critical race theory to people who aren't even like interested enough to try and understand what it actually is, and are much more interested in just judging it by the boogeyman that the right wing media sphere has made it out to be. Jeez. You know what? I should tell my people that I'm streaming. Uh, Stream announcements, stream announcements. Stream announcements. Spider Pig does whatever a Spider Pig does. Look out, he's a pig. You know what? Spider Pig does whatever a Spider Pig does. All right, yeah. Gosh, I'm so like all that fucking last minute research, which actually came in handy last time. But I'm burnt out on it right now. I mean, these people aren't going to come with research, so I don't know. Am I not getting any of these channels? Oh yeah, I can. Pop out. Spider Pig does whatever a Spider Pig does. Okay. He's a pig. Watch out. You can go back. It's so funny. OBS doesn't capture any type of changes on Discord unless it doesn't have to be the screen that's being selected. It's just got to be not covered by another window. And that's an odd behavior I've never seen a computer do. It usually would either capture it all the time or it will capture it only when it's like the window that you are selecting.
A liberal.
What up?
We will be hosting the debate in the in one of the auditorium channels. Would you like me to move you over there?
Yeah, that works.
All right.
They said that in an auditorium channel, not the debate channel. Very interesting. Where's... There? Town hall?
Why? Creepy son of a gun.
There we go.
Oh hey.
I brought if a liberal went over and sat in the actual debates channel we have. But if we're doing like
He's
debates,
in there.
do it in this channel.
Okay, yeah, we should probably just join that one because I don't think there are gonna be nearly enough people to have it. Oh, hi Cluck. I thought you was in the channel thing.
No, I brought him over here.
Oh, I thought. Oh, you dragged him over. Oh, yeah. Okay.
I went over and said, "Hey, the debate is most likely happening in the town hall. Do you want me to just bring you over here?"
Hey Cluck, how you doing?
I'm doing fantabulous. How are you?
Good. I'm ready to talk about how CRT makes my beautiful white children think they're literally the devil and Hitler combined.
Yes, convince me. Hold on 20 seconds.
Okay. I've asked Atlas and he's online, but he's playing something right now. I kind
We
of
got
feel
that RGB in the background.
Oh shoot! Dark Cluck.
All right, now I look like a professional streamer.
He's ready to get serious.
And now some people have popped into the audience, so welcome in. Somebody just left. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to offend you. Somebody else just joined back in.
Oh.
And this is a revolving door. Well, welcome in for anybody who wants to stay. The subject of tonight will be is critical race theory relevant or not relevant, but should critical race theory be taught in schools?
Yes. Correct.
Oh wait, are we starting? Do you want opening statements, or are we waiting for more people?
Yeah. I don't know if our W is gonna join. I could ask him. Do you know anyone else, Cluck, that would be on your side who might join? Because I asked Atlas and AVD Tyler, if you remember those
Here, give me a
guys.
second. I'll just add some people that.
I mean, the only two people that I have in my Discord that are on quote unquote on my side are Experiment and
EFBL Hippie.
yeah, Hippie Dude.
Yeah, you want me to ask them?
And if you want,
Alright.
that doesn't matter to me.
Is Dora good? Is she fun to debate with, or should I not at her?
Oh, Dora's great.
Okay.
Dora?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh.
I'm just trying to mention some people.
Yeah, Dora's good.
Dora,
Who else would
Dora.
be?
Hippie and Experiment are both offline at the moment. We could always just like make this a setup where we just like make really bad faith arguments against Cluck, but he can't do anything because they're all against him. I think we could do that.
Well, I mean, how often do I actually have help in context
I don't know.
debates?
I don't think you need help. I'm just saying it'd be better because we have so many people over, or it obviously we have more people on the anti-CRT side, so to speak, right?
Right,
So I
here's what I'm
feel
gonna
like
do.
You're gonna be mostly just answering
Yeah,
questions.
here's
and
what
stuff
I'm gonna
like
do. I'm gonna join Cluck's side on this one.
that. Okay.
I'm gonna play
Devil's
devil's advocate.
I don't need a devil's advocate. It's fine.
I think you want to solo this, Cluck?
Yeah, it's fine.
No,
I mean,
Well, I mean,
well, here's the
he's
thing.
gonna be soloing against
I want
two
to
people.
I want to
since
defend
I'm
CRT.
not debating.
Yeah, and like, I'd rather try to do this myself than to have somebody who's like doesn't really like know
All
that
right.
much. Not that I know a lot. Actually, I honestly don't know a whole lot. And when I was researching the topic, I got bored.
Yeah, it's kind of
Enough.
boring. It's honestly a boring subject, to be honest, dude. I don't blame you.
And like everything, it's really complicated subject matter.
Yeah,
For sure.
it actually is. The more you look it up, the more it's like really hard to pinpoint certain parts. So it depends on the state, depends on like the counties, the school boards. They're just it does get convoluted.
We could start if you guys want.
I'm down to start.
Alright, I think we should start off with everyone. Let's all agree on what critical race theory means.
Yeah, that's fine. That was going to be my very first question was what is the definition of critical race theory to you guys, the naysayers?
Oh, you don't know? I'm actually pretty neutral on this one.
Oh, okay. The naysayers and the nutrids. Okay, never mind. I tried to make a joke, it didn't work.
The Neutronians.
The Neutronians, yes.
Neutronians.
I like that one.
Do you want to define it, Cluck?
Okay, well, it seems like the critical race theory is one of those things that have came from the academics and became something that it originally wasn't. Originally, it was a legal theory that looked at the law through a racial lens, looked at the effects of like higher incarceration on Black communities and how that perpetuates Black communities, looked at how implicit biases or over policing of certain communities may affect that, looked at how certain laws and rules that were put into place in the past have kept Black people in high crime areas, making them susceptible of doing crime themselves. And it also has expanded into looking at more areas besides just like the legal aspect. such as like economics and stuff of that nature. And I recently it has seems like it's a term that has been taken by the right and kind of sort of turned into a boogeyman. I think Christopher Rufo has explicitly said that that's what he was trying to do with the term. And now it just means, yeah, I don't really know what the right thinks critical race theory means. It just seems like anything that has to do with race and pointing out anything that may make white people look bad or black people look better is critical race theory. But I don't know. I don't want to define critical race theory for the right.
My understanding of critical race theory has always been that it is that we are racist from birth and that there's no hope in changing whether we're racist or not. Even if you have never done anything racist, it says that you still have a racist mind.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I've always understood it and heard it.
I would agree with that, yeah. And I don't think that the right is necessarily attacking things that only make whites look bad necessarily. It's not that conservatives are going against teachers talking about slavery. That's not what they're doing at all. It's that some books about slavery will say that you're still going through the same prejudice today or some crazy shit like that. And that's just not true at all. Blacks are black people because, you know, blacks I think is like a demeaning term or something, but black people I think nowadays are just as free as white people. There's no doubt in my mind about that. And what I think critical race theory is doing today is it's saying that blacks still do have a disadvantage in society and it's their skin color that's keeping them back.
Okay. So we can talk about that a little bit. The pizza guy said that he touched on the idea of implicit biases and how and I guess white privilege would be two things that pizza touched on,
Yeah.
and Ford was talking about just the systemic racism overall. Well, since pizza left, I guess we'll talk about like the overall systemic racism. I think that the easiest portion of this conversation for people to buy is the effects that past prejudices could have on current generations. So I don't think anybody here would disagree with the idea that if you come from a poor family, you are probably more likely to stay poor. I'm not saying that it's impossible to get out of a poor situation. But you are less likely to be able to do that coming from a poor family. Does anyone disagree with that?
Yeah, I think you'll go through more hardships if you're poor, and yes, I think you're right. It's harder to get out of a poor economic situation if you're in that poor economic situation already.
Okay. Do you disagree with the idea that one of the best way for lower middle class to middle class families to gain wealth is what one of the most used vehicles of that is home ownership?
Home ownership would gain them wealth?
Yeah, it's the vehicle most utilized by poor and middle class people to garner wealth over time.
I'm really not sure.
Okay. Do you think that somebody who owns a home is able to garner wealth easier than somebody who's renting?
It depends on where they have the home. In some places, I feel like it might actually be cheaper to just buy a home than rent like an apartment in effing Hollywood. It depends on that, but generally, yes, I would assume so.
Well, regardless of where you're owning the home, if you are paying $2,000 a month or $3,000 a month in an apartment in Hollywood or LA, but you're or compared to spending that same amount or maybe even more on a mortgage, you are by definition, garnering more wealth with the mortgage because all of that rent money goes to somebody else's equity. Whereas if you're paying on a mortgage, you're building equity, putting equity into something for yourself.
Okay, so I have a question though, or a suggestion, I suppose. If we can, or I think we're changing topics here. We probably
No, we're
should
not.
change.
I'm bringing it back around. I promise.
Oh, okay, okay. Go ahead.
So the reason why I bring this up is because when you're talking about how the past is affecting the black community in the present, one of the easiest things to point to is a concept called redlining. And what that was so in some cases it was local governments, in some cases it was banks and appraisers who would draw lines around black neighborhoods and call them poor neighborhoods. Say that their homes are not worth a lot. They would call them high risk financial areas. Many times, a lot of times, this was done explicitly because they were black, which means that they said these are black neighborhoods, therefore these are bad investments.
Would you consider that to be true now, that black neighborhoods tend to be more dangerous and not worth buying homes in black neighborhoods?
What I consider probably not all black neighborhoods, no.
Not all, but in general, if we're talking about the largest black neighborhoods.
I don't know. I can't answer that question. Do you think it would be okay for banks today to just draw lines around black neighborhoods and call them risky investments? Like, would that be a good thing?
Black neighborhoods were dangerous? Yes. If they weren't dangerous and they're only doing it because there are black people living there, no, not at all.
Yeah, so that's what was happening back then.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't doubt that. I was just wondering about what you think about that in the present.
Yeah. So that made it hard for black people to be able to garner wealth because the places in which they were able to buy houses were considered not ideal places, which affects present day black community because these places they didn't get any better. Does that make sense?
What do you mean by they didn't get any better?
Like the mechanisms in which they were able to build wealth just weren't there for these communities.
Yeah, back then I'd say that's true. Yeah.
Yeah, but that was what? Your grandmother's time? My grandmother's time?
Yes.
So if my grandmother was poorer than she is now because she was black, then I would probably be poorer than I am now because of my grandmother was black.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, so that's an example. That's a very tiny sliver of an example.
We're talking about systemic racism today, though. There's no doubt about that there was systemic racism back in the 50s or the 60s. No one's disagreeing with you there. It's more about, is it still here today? I think that's where schools get it wrong, and where, like what Pizza brought up, how, you know, some teachers are saying that whites are inherently racist at birth, and there's nothing they can do about it. It's just that's not true at all.
Okay. So I started this spiel by saying that one of the easiest things to explain when it comes to how systemic racism is how the past affects the present. Because like systemic racism, you don't have to have explicit anti-black legislation on the books for the system as a whole to have desperate racial outcomes. And one of the things that causes these desperate racial outcomes is explicit racist policies in the past. And that's something we're still dealing with today.
We're still dealing with the effects of those I would say, sure, yeah. And if you want to be really accurate, I don't think it's I wouldn't say that nowadays it's the law is or it's harder for blacks to do better. I think it's harder for poor people to do better, which is something you kind of can't really avoid. I mean, if we're talking about today, and you have a white person and a black person who both live in those crappy neighborhoods, one or the other, it doesn't matter what their skin color is, either of them can get out of that situation. So nowadays, there is no such thing as systemic racism, at least in my mind, and that's what schools are teaching kids.
Okay, but you admitted that somebody's grandmother,
Past, yes.
huh?
In the past, yes.
Yeah, and it's affecting, but that affects the present, right? That
That doesn't matter. You're saying that systemic racism is around today. That's what people are saying. That's not true.
So when we say system, we're not just talking about laws and policies. We're talking about how society operates, all as a
Okay, so
whole.
would you say society is still racist as a whole in general? Most people, or not most people, but in society there's still a significant amount of racism.
It's going to depend on how you define the word racism. What I would say is that as a whole, society, there's still desperate outcomes within society for Black people, and that is
Is that because of
that is a function of the color of their skin.
Okay, I would disagree with you there. I
Wait.
think what would you be talking about when you say disparate outcome, or disproportionate outcomes? What are you referring to?
So Black people are more likely to grow up in poor families, and that is a direct result of the color of their skin because of policies in the past.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is. I mean, you don't realize this, but
They were
you.
born in a poor neighborhood because of the color of their skin. They were born in a poor neighborhood because their family was in a poor neighborhood.
But they were put into those poor neighborhoods because of things like segregation and redlining.
True. What about white people who live in poor neighborhoods? Why are they there?
There's probably many different reasons, but none of those reasons is because they're white.
Okay, so on the same token, I don't think every black family is in a poor neighborhood because they're black.
Probably not, but there's a lot of them that are in poor neighborhoods because their grandparents were Black.
And I think a large reason why those people actually stay in those poor neighborhoods is because they're not making good decisions. That's why you see higher crime in poor neighborhoods.
Well, yeah, I mean,
There isn't enough good education as well. That's not their fault. That's something that I wish we could solve. I don't think teaching CRT in poor black communities is going to help them get out of those poor areas.
well, nobody said that teaching CRT was going to be the thing that helps.
I know.
But yeah, so that is just the easiest. That's the easiest way to explain CRT. How skin color still affects people's lives. There's a lot of other things that I do not have the education or the articulation to be able to describe.
I don't think it's directly from their skin color.
If my grandmother is put into a poor neighborhood because she is Black and I am born into that neighborhood, then that is there's a direct correlation there. There's a direct cause and effect there.
Yeah, most of the time, but here's what I'm trying to say is there's a step between that. It's not just Black, therefore poor neighborhood. It's in the past, Blacks were put into poor neighborhoods. In the past, our government actually tried to keep them poor, MK Ultra and all of that. They'd run experiments on them that would make their communities worse. 50 years later, we're not doing that. It's not because of their skin color anymore. Now it's because of the result of the past.
Okay.
And it's a result of the past that's a result of skin color. There's something in the middle there. You can't just immediately go to skin color because then people will believe that in the present, nowadays, they're still being, how would you say it? Or society is still racist nowadays. If you frame it as they're in a poor neighborhood because of their skin color, it's all about framing.
Okay, so how do I want to go about this? I don't think that society today has rules and regulations, laws and policies that are explicitly holding Black community back. So we can stop that's not what I'm debating right now. What I am debating is
we're not debating the topic.
Well, if your definition
Talking
of
about CRT today. We're
yes,
talking about it today, not
so
its
if
effects in the past. If it's still relevant today.
okay, so if your definition of systemic racism is laws and policies and regulations on the books that are keeping one race down while helping another race, then yeah, there's no
It was in
systemic
the past,
racism by
yes.
that. But yeah, there's no systemic racism in the present based around that definition. But what I am talking about
Well, not
is
just laws. You were talking yesterday about something else. It's also society. Yesterday you were talking
yeah,
about
implicit biases.
yeah, implicit biases. I would consider people who believe in that. I think that's a form of critical race theory. I don't think systems just mean legally. I think it also means in society.
Yeah, okay. Implicit bias is a vehicle in which systemic racism happens. It's one of the vehicles, yeah. But like my definition of systemic racism is not explicit laws on the books, regulations, rules that keep black people down. It's it's aspects of society that keep one race down while helping another. Like that's my definition, and it doesn't have to be explicit. It doesn't have to be. It can be implicit things that are much harder to see and to understand.
Okay, could you give an example of like a implicit or an implicit bias?
An implicit. Oh, I mean, I can give you a personal example from my life when I first recognized my implicit biases. And here's what's going to happen after I'm done with this story, or at least what I'm predicting is going to happen, is that you're going to, and maybe pizza also is going to be like, well, that's your racism. This doesn't apply to me. But anyways, I was at a gas station at my old the town that I was used to live in, which is a rural place. In this place, I never lock my doors. But I stopped at the gas pumps, and there was this bigger black guy at the gas pumps, and I locked my doors when I went inside. And then I thought about it, and I was like, why did I do that? And I noticed that the black guy was there, and I was like, was it because of him? Like, I had to ask myself that. And like, I had no reason to believe that he was going to do anything to my car. He was there with his family, like, but yeah, that was like a thing that I had to face when
He was big though, right?
yeah, he was a bigger guy, but I'm a
Did you
kind
live
of
in a dangerous neighborhood?
no, I was in a rural place with very low
Oh,
crime.
okay.
I like I said, I didn't normally lock my doors when I went into the gas station around there.
You just locked it because he was black?
I mean that's my theory.
Okay, so you don't actually know if you locked it because he was black.
It's the best explanation I've got.
Okay, well, if I wasn't there, so I really can't comment on that. If he locked it simply because of his skin color, then yeah, I think that's kind of a little bit racist. If he locked it because he was big, he was a big guy, he was acting a little suspicious, which I don't think he was because he said he was with his family, then I think there would be a reason to lock your doors. If I see any dude who's big and acting suspicious, I'm gonna lock my doors.
Yeah, so he wasn't
Anyways.
yeah, he wasn't acting suspicious. One of the tenets of CRT, well, I guess the way we're using CRT right now, just around the definition of implicit biases is that the society in which you grow up puts negative subconscious biases against specific races without you even really realizing it's happening.
Could you give, okay, so do you think conservatives have an implicit bias against something?
I think that if you, I think yes, I think that you could probably, I don't know this, but I would imagine that if you were to give conservatives an implicit bias test, they would probably get a higher score for having implicit biases than like the average population.
Do you have a test I could take? Is there an online test?
When I was doing research, I saw like advertisements for it.
Because I've heard that those tests are actually not very accurate at all, and people have taken them multiple times have kind of gotten widely different results.
I mean, yeah, there's ones from Marymount University, Harvard University. There's
Hey, by the way,
probably
can you link them? Because I wouldn't mind trying it out, honestly.
Yeah, I wouldn't either. That'd be interesting.
With good faith. It's yeah.
Then we could see how racist I am.
You're a bigot. You know that.
Okay,
You're a
s-
bigot. I became transgender
So-
and
so?
you denied my gender.
I know you guys are memeing, but one important thing when having these discussions that I like to it's in the voice chat.
Alright, thank you. Appreciate
Okay.
it.
Just I never
will
took
take it, though.
I never took this one. I don't know what it's like. I just found one from Google and I linked it. I've never actually taken an implicit bias test.
Yeah, no worries.
But yeah, one thing is that bigotry and racism, when having these discussions, are two different things in my mind. And they have to be because I gotta have words to describe the things in which I'm trying to describe.
Could you repeat that? Sorry. What did you
Bigotry and racism are two different things in my mind.
Okay.
Yes, I agree with you on that. Yeah.
I
Okay.
actually don't.
Bigotry and racism, I would say like one is a judgment, and racism is based off of a judgment just off the color of the skin.
Yeah.
Well,
racism
okay.
is a form of bigotry.
Yeah, so what you just said, Riddle, is...
Racism is the action.
Okay,
Yeah, I wouldn't consider them the same thing. I think bigotry encompasses a more large, a larger field, but I'd say racism is a form of bigotry.
so in my mind, bigotry is negative thoughts and feelings towards a person explicitly. Explicit negative thoughts and feelings towards a person due to a immutable characteristic. Whereas racism is a much more implicit form of disparity. It could be on the individual level, thoughts and feelings towards somebody, or on a societal level, like outcomes, desperate outcomes, based around immutable characteristics.
Wait, what the hell is this test?
I'm actually gonna stream myself taking the test because I think it's gonna be funny.
No, I like generally don't know what it's asking me to do. It's saying like sort them based on the words. You will use the E in four groups and the items that belong to each, good and bad. Okay. Put a left finger on the E key for items that belong in the category light-skinned people. Put a right finger on the I key for items that belong to the category dark-skinned people.
That sounds like a racist question.
Oh, interesting.
Wait, what is this? Am I stupid? I'm really confused.
Is this like a gaslighting thing?
I don't know what it's telling me to do. Oh, belong to the... Oh, never mind. I'm stupid. Okay, the first thing was just testing out the controls. E light-skinned, I dark-skinned people. I'm gonna go kind of slow, because otherwise I'm gonna make a mistake.
Wait, what was that first question you just said, Fork?
What?
What was that first question
What do you mean?
you said?
What first question?
E light skin, E dark people. What was that?
I dark skin. It's like telling you to sort them. Put a left finger on the E key for items that belong to bad, and put a finger on the right eye for things that belong to the category good.
Oh wow,
Wait,
this is kind of racist.
Just based off of race?
What is your race?
Beautiful.
American Indian, East Asian, South Asian, Native
Beautiful.
Hawaiian or Pacific
Good.
Islander, Black or
Yep.
African American, and then just white. Doesn't ask you
Yeah,
if you're from
just-
Europe. Doesn't ask you if you're from the Americas. Just white.
Well, that's because
Yeah,
race is a social construct and it doesn't really matter anyways.
Well,
It
then
shouldn't.
why not?
Well,
If
why
it's
are we
just a
arguing
social
about it?
construct, if it's just a social construct and race doesn't matter, then why is this? Why is it done like that, in that manner?
Why is it done in that manner? Oh, I
No,
think
in that manner. In that manner.
yeah, like why is it done like that?
Yeah.
I
The
mean,
question
like,
I would have is if race doesn't matter, then why are we worried about racism?
Because
Race
the
is
way because
purely
the
social construct.
because the way that society has constructed those races has led to desperate outcomes for people.
I think they want to create more racism, in my opinion. I think it's
What is your
it-
ethnicity? Hispanic or Latino? Not Hispanic or Latino.
what if you're a mixed race?
That's so. Trevor Noah has a joke about that. Where he's a mixed race person. And he said that he just one day wants to go to the DMV and check the white box to see how what the DMV people would say. Because mixed race people, if they have a certain skin color, they are defaulted as being considered black. They can't be white.
I don't believe that. Wait, they'll just reject it? I don't understand.
What do you mean? Like if you were to see
I see
a
what they're doing.
if you were to see a mixed race person, would you ever describe them as white if they have darker skin than like I do?
I think that there should be an extra option for that. Like you should be able to mark more than one. You know,
I mean, yeah,
Yeah, just
probably.
white or like black or something like that. You know, like I think it needs to be more nuanced. If they're gonna be specific about your Asian ethnicity or Hispanic or Latino, then they need to be specific about the white and the black or mixed or something like that. You know.
Here's a question.
I see what they're doing in these tests. They're trying to trick you into doing the wrong thing and
Yeah,
sorting
that's-
it to the other race. They're literally just tricking you.
I figure that's how it
It's
would be.
ridiculous. It's
Here's
like a
a-
tongue twister for your eyes.
I'm
Here's-
sorry. Go ahead, Clint.
Here's a question. So, would y'all agree that here? This is gonna be a couple questions. Would y'all agree that there are lines in which you can draw when it comes to things like economic success and criminal aptitude and things like that that could probably be pretty racially divided?
Like some groups are more in one section while another group is more in the other.
Yeah. Would you agree with that?
Sorry, my mom came in. Yeah.
Okay. Why is that?
Wait, hold on. Hang on. Can you ask the question again? I'm sorry about that.
You
Wait,
saying
wait.
Oh, sorry. Go
Would you agree that there are probably lines in when we look at society, we can probably there are like races that are more susceptible to certain things.
Than another group.
Yes.
Hang on, Morgan. Hang on. I can understand.
Some races tend to be more poor. Some races tend to be more susceptible to criminality. Some races tend to be wealthier, whatever. Would you agree with that?
Yes.
Why is that?
Because some races tend to be more poor and some races tend to do more crime.
Why is it so heavily divided by race?
I would
I
say
don't
that
know,
it's,
ask
it
the
depends
races.
because I think it's I mean it's so like it's a tough question because
I could
You
tell
have-
you why.
you- you'd have to-
Culture, It's culture.
well it is culture, but it's also like who promotes the culture. Like is it the government promoting certain applications? Is it what we're being told through the news? Is it what TV shows that we're watching? All this kind of stuff.
Okay.
It's all influential into culture. So yes, it is
I
a
think it's
cultural.
the culture. That's why Asians do less crime and black people sadly do more crimes.
Yes, it is cultural based.
Yeah, so where does that culture come from?
A lot of different things.
It comes from
The
having a
nation of origin, how you grew
Yeah.
up, where you grow up.
Yeah,
it's
it
a
does
lot
come
of
from a lot because I
different
mean, like we're a nation of immigrants, right? So in the U.S., Asians, people from Asia, tend to do better, specifically India,
and
really.
Indians, yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, it is a cultural thing. It's based off of what you're taught as a family. First off, you need a family unit. That's usually what happens. And in today's society, we're discouraged to have that, especially when you're giving, subsidized, not subsidies, but like
Wait a second.
government aid, like
Well,
I'm taking
is it?
a test, and they just had me
Which
sort
one? Oh.
everybody by race,
you what?
and now they're wanting me to sort things by good and bad.
No,
But then
and
they
the
also
race.
put
I
the
know,
good
it's a
on the
tongue
white
twister,
and the
dude. They're
bad
trying
on
to
the-
trick you. It's a fucking tongue twister.
They put
That's
good
all
on the
it
same
is.
side as white people. bad at the same side as black people.
Yeah,
Does
they're
that mean
trying
black
to
people are
make you into
initially
clicking
bad?
the other button, and they're gonna say because you put a bad word onto the black side when it's supposed to be a good word or a black thing, you're a fucking racist. It's
Okay.
all a
Interesting.
giant tongue twister that they're trying
So
to trick you into thinking you're racist with.
okay, so I disagree with the notion that like something like welfare is keeping people's single families and whatever. But let's just go with that for a second. Let's just leave that at like let's pretend that that's just a proven fact at this
No,
point.
no. Well, hold on. I would say that welfare is necessary. It is. I'm just saying like how easy it is to get and the additional amounts that the government boosts.
How
for
it's
it.
set up right now, you would say.
How it's set up, yeah, and it does depend on the country, the state. It does depend on local. It is varied. So
Yeah. So
it is in California. It's pretty bad. I'll just say that.
let's say there is something about welfare that is keeping families in single parent households, keeping them poor, and these and black people are getting, are falling victim to this welfare trap more so than white people. Wouldn't that be like a system that's not explicitly racist,
People
but
have personal choices. You can't blame personal choices on racism. It's like
I would say
it's saying because black people do more crime, the system is racist, even though they've chosen to do that. They're not being
I think that
brainwashed.
I think
They
the
have no
system is
of their own.
it's more so classist if anything because I mean you got a ton of white people on welfare as well and that's increasing. So it's where's the racism there? I don't think it's about racism.
yeah. So
Just being people dependent on the government.
I think that so what you just described to me is like things getting more even. Unfortunately, what you just described, if what you said is true about more people getting on welfare and things are getting even in the wrong direction. White people are getting poorer instead of rich people getting wealthier. And I don't think that anybody here is, well, I know nobody here is saying that we are as bad as we were in the past. But so for you talk about individual choices and crime statistics and stuff like that. If you are in a poor neighborhood, you are more susceptible to making the bad choices when it comes to these things, right?
It's ultimately your choice.
It is. You're right.
Ultimately your choice.
So I would never.
I'm not blaming that on anything other than. I'm not blaming it on how you were raised, even though that might have been what led to you doing it. Maybe you were taught by your father and by your mother that crime is sometimes okay. I don't care. I don't care if you were like quote unquote brainwashed into doing it. You should be treated as everyone else because ultimately it is your decision.
So I would never ever look at a individual committing a crime and tell them, "Hey, this isn't your responsibility. It's not your responsibility to not commit this crime." And I would never say, "Oh, well, he's from a black neighborhood, poor family. He shouldn't be put in jail." But if I am analyzing society and trying to figure out what changes need to be made in order to prevent these individuals from making these decisions in the future, then taking these things into consideration is probably pretty important in my mind.
So would you say that a reason why the crime rate is so high is because of the past racism that they've gone through?
I think that a reason why crime is so high in the black community is because of yes.
Okay, well then why was black crime rate lower in the 1960s?
I do not have an answer to that question. Was it lower than white crime rates?
I'm not sure. It was definitely lower than it is now. Way
Yeah.
lower.
But there's always that disproportionality there. Crime rates overall was probably lower in the 60s than it is now. We might not have been able to track it as well back then.
So maybe the thing that raised crime rates in general also affected blacks instead of it just being the racism boogeyman.
We're not talking. So we're talking about why is black crime rates higher than other groups?
Because of the culture, has nothing to do with.
And that culture came from a bunch of different things that are societal.
Different things, yes.
Yeah.
Nothing to do with racism.
Oh, so do you think that being poor is
No,
is
being
wait.
poor does not lead to you committing more crime. Committing more crime leads you to being more poor.
See, okay, okay. You really don't think that two people, all things different, all things same genetically, one put into a poor home and one put into a rich home, the poor person is more susceptible to have to committing crime?
Depends on where they live, probably yes, but that's not because they're poor. It's because of the culture that they're around when you live in
Which,
a more poor city.
yeah, so poor people culture can lead you to
Causation
be.
doesn't make a causation. Just because you're poor, just because a city is poor doesn't mean you're gonna have more violent crime rates. Unfortunately, in the U.S., places with like high crime rates are generally more poor. It's crime rate that leads to people being poor, not poor people that leads to crime rates.
Okay. I mean, what makes you think that?
What makes you think that being poor leads to higher crime rates?
What makes me think that? Oh gosh, sociologists who study these topics have come to those conclusions.
Okay, but what do they say? A lot of people say a lot of things. Some scientists said that the Earth was flat a while ago. But
Okay.
what are they actually saying? What's the
You're
context?
literally you literally just use the science is wrong sometimes. Therefore, shouldn't believe it now. You use the what's his name, Mac from
Yes,
It's
because
Always Sunny.
scientists are sometimes wrong, and usually the 1% of scientists are right, like in 400 years ago, and not
Okay.
even 40 years ago. When you said my grandma was around, and that was recently, and they're giving mothers lobotomies, and they thought that was a good thing to do. Some
Mm-hmm.
scientists are wrong. I want to know the content of what they're saying. You can't just tell me this scientist said one thing, therefore he's right. I'll believe you if you actually like tell me what they're saying, and there's evidence to support that, but you haven't told me.
Well, I don't know. It's just this is what sociologists say, and I'm going to go. I'm going to go with what the experts are saying over like what I hear people on the internet say.
I can tell you what the experts say because I know what they usually say.
What do they say?
They usually say what you said, where being in a poor neighborhood leads to a higher crime rate, therefore being poor leads to a higher crime rate.
I am sure that if we were to look up,
Equals causation, that's what they say. And
Eh,
they usually, what they usually say, what it is that more poor people need more things. Like, they intentionally commit crime to get food or things like that. But you know that's not true because it's not just crime and, like petty crime like stealing from a grocery store. It's also crime like murder and rape.
yeah. So I am sure that if we were to look up a sociologist paper on poverty and crime, it would be a lot more nuanced than that, with a lot more details. And but let's just try and run this thought experiment ourselves. If you were in a poor neighborhood, what is something that you can probably do to make cash?
To make cash?
Yeah, a neighborhood where there's not much opportunity for you around. What is something you could probably do to make cash?
I've never lived in a poor neighborhood, so I can't really say. Probably
Well,
working at a spot like it would really depend on what your circumstances are, how many family members you have, if you're living in like an apartment or a house, if you have good education.
so
I would say do your best in school, do as well as you can, try and work at a job as young as you can. That's what I'm planning to do. And I wouldn't consider my family to be super poor. I'd say we're low middle class. But I'd say work a job as soon as you can. Use the education that you have to get into better schools. It could be like a community college that's somewhere else. Use that to further your career. You could also go into an apprenticeship. You could learn how to become a mechanic.
so
That's
you're
a really good way. You could work at a construction site. That pays really well.
you're a 13-year-old with a strung out mom, and you need to feed yourself. What are you going to do?
What are you going to do if you need to feed yourself and your mom can't do it for you?
Mm-hmm.
Soup kitchen?
These poor neighborhoods, the soup kitchens, blocks away. You can't get to one.
You
The
can't
the
walk a few blocks if you're starving to
the,
death?
the soup kitchen is it's too far.
I don't think there's any city that's like that. Can your mom not apply for welfare?
My mom's strung out. She's not doing shit for me.
Okay, well then I'd fucking try and get out of. If your mom's not caring for you, first off, I wouldn't call her your mom. That's not your mom.
It's the person I was born with,
way
and now I'm living
different.
with them. I'm
Yeah,
13
so
also.
I figure out how to get away from them as quickly as possible.
Okay, well, my brother did that by joining the local gang.
Wasn't a very smart move.
Well, now he's got money. He's helping feed me, and he's also got protection from the crime that's around here.
Okay, well, if I was in that situation and I was 13, which is young and stupid, and my brother joined it, and let's say my brother is older than me, and he's my role model, then I'd probably join that gang.
You just yes, and you just described the decision-making process of a lot of people that end up in these. They are in these situations.
Okay, what does that prove?
How did they get in these situations? You keep going back to this like individual responsibility,
Yeah,
which when you're talking to
I'm my
which
brother's gang brother.
which when you are talking to the individual, absolutely. I wouldn't tell that 13-year-old he should join that gang. I would give him different advice. But when you're talking about but when you are talking about the systems that led him to make those decisions,
That his mom didn't care for him and his brother left him at a young age. That's not the system. That's their individual responsibility. All of this stemmed from their responsibility and what they chose to do that led to you doing what you did. It's not a racism boogeyman.
Yeah, but these are people that I can't control what my mom does. I can't control what my brother does. I can't control what influences I have in my life as a 13-year-old.
I can't control what anyone else does. That doesn't mean that they don't do things that is based on their personal freedom. It's not based on racism what they did. They did it because they chose to not care for their son. They chose to risk their life for a bit of cash.
So the part that is the part where race comes into is that these types of situations, while yes, probably most definitely do happen to white people, are happening to black people at a higher rate.
Yeah.
And there's reasons for that besides just that, it's not their genetics, unless you want to say it's their genetics that's doing it. There are reasons for that.
Because of their culture.
Because of their culture. But the culture came from the scenario in which I just laid out.
Okay.
Okay, and
how does that prove critical race theory is still present today?
Well, why is that family poor to begin with?
I don't know. You tell me. It could be a lot of things.
It could be. One of the things could be because they were put there. Their grandmother was put there, during the redlining age.
My mom doesn't have a strong male figure to actually make money and raise my family. That could also be something which is very prominent in black communities. That's not racism. That's black fathers leaving their kids.
Yeah, but why are the black fathers leaving the kids at higher rates?
Not because of racism. I'll tell you that much.
But you keep saying not because of racism. What I am saying is that this system puts these people in these positions to make them more likely to make these decisions.
The system did not make a black man leave his wife and kids. What do you mean?
The system put these people in these positions to make them more likely to make bad decisions.
How does the system make a black man more likely to leave his wife and kids?
Because poor people are more likely to leave their wife and kids, and the system put a lot of black.
Why is that? Why is that?
I honestly don't know why poor people they don't want the responsibility. They were raised unwell.
That's not the system. You're blaming it on the system when it's personal responsibility.
Yeah, but what puts these people in these situations? What put them in this situation?
It really depends on.
If you are a black person in these 50s looking for a house and you can only get one in poor neighborhoods, you end up in this poor neighborhood. You're going to be engulfed in this poor person culture that we have been talking about for the last 20 minutes. And you are more susceptible to making those bad poor people decisions.
No, you're not.
Yes, you absolutely are.
So because my great-grandma, or my grandma, let's just say my grandma, because my grandma was redlined, she had a family of her own, she was doing well back then, way better than I am now. Just because she moved into a poor community, she gave birth to my mom was a slut in high school, she didn't study at all, she had sex with a guy, she had 2 kids, the guy left him. because of my great grandma moving to a poor neighborhood, and then my brother joined a gang because my grandma was moved to a poor neighborhood 50 years ago, and then I joined the gang because there's not a soup kitchen that I can't walk to for some odd reason.
Why would you expect a 13-year-old to even know about and be able to get to a soup kitchen?
I don't know, because it's a very popular thing in poor communities, and I'd assume you to know about it. I mean, what do you mean?
I don't think most 13-year-olds know about soup kitchens and how to navigate.
Maybe
But
absolutely they do, yeah.
okay.
It's like a gated community. If you're a 13-year-old living in, if you're a high-class 13-year-old kid, and you live in a very high-class area, you probably know what a gated community is by 13. You know a lot of things by 13. I'm very surprised if any 13-year-old didn't know what a soup kitchen was. I'd be extremely surprised.
Okay. I think that your failure to see how the environment in which you grow up in, which you have no control over,
No,
can
you have
lead.
control over joining a gang or leaving your wife and kids.
No, you have no control over the environment in which you grow up, right?
You don't, yes.
Do you agree that the environment in which you grow up is going to influence your decision-making skills and which decisions you're going to most likely make?
Yeah.
Yeah. So if I have these influences is pushing me one way, which is the bad way, then I am probably more likely to make those bad decisions, right?
Okay, here, could I give you an example of something?
Sure.
So I'm pissed off at my teacher and I just want to slap her across the face. Last Tuesday we had a quiz and she gave me an F on it, even though I feel like I did really well. That's going to influence my final decision of slapping her across the face. Next Wednesday I slap her across the face. Therefore, it was not my personal responsibility, but because she put me in that situation by giving me an F.
Okay, so I am not describing these situations in order to take away personal responsibility from individuals.
That's what it sounds like. You just said the father can't control what he does.
No, I didn't say he can't control. I said that he's more likely to make the bad decision because of his environment. No, he can absolutely control. If I were to talk to a black father who is thinking about leaving their son or their pregnant mother, I would say, no, you shouldn't do that. That's a bad thing to do. That is me telling him to have personal responsibility for his actions. But if I were to look at a society of people where there's a lot of black men leaving their mothers, their pregnant girlfriends, I would ask, what is going on in this society that's making all these individuals make these bad decisions?
Okay, hold on. I'm pulling up your stream right now. I want to check something.
Likely to make those bad, to make them more likely. You keep saying not because of racism. What I'm saying is that this system puts these people in these positions to make them more likely to make these decisions. The system puts these people in these positions to make them more likely to make bad decisions.
Yeah, it's over.
Because poor people are more likely to lose their licenses, and the system put a lot of black.
Oh, whatever. It's gonna take me forever. I don't just want to sit here and listen and find a small part of your stream because it's not really that big a deal.
Okay.
Does anyone else want to talk Riddle Pizza? Because I think me and Cluck.
Oh, I've been observing. I'm just trying to keep it neutral.
Aladdin.
Kind of
Gotcha.
moderate it. Say.
You want to come up here, RW? You want to speak? I just realized Pizza is no longer here.
Oh no, RW is actually in the international pub. He's just here for a head count. So, if anything, this is a personal debate.
Okay, sounds good. You want to keep on talking about another section, Cluck, or do you want to keep on going more in depth on something?
I think that we're at an impasse. I understand your point about like personal responsibility, but you are only seeing this, in my mind, I feel like you are only seeing this topic at an individual level, and I don't know how to get you to look at it from a broader scope.
I am seeing it at a broader scope. I've already acknowledged that yes, if you grew up in a poor community, that culture is going to impact your final decisions. But at the end of the day, it's your decision to make that choice.
But I mean, I agree with that. It's just that,
So we
but
agree then.
but when we're talking, the thing that I said a long time ago, when we're talking about systemic racism, we are usually talking about broader systems. But you keep bringing it back to the individual's choices.
Yes, because ultimately it's the individual's choices.
Well, ultimately, sure. I wouldn't want like our legal system to say, oh, well, this person is from this neighborhood, therefore he couldn't really help it, so we're going to give, No, I wouldn't want that. But I don't think that it's useful for a topic about the society in which we live in to always bring it back to the individual's choice. Because then you're just
on the teacher who gave me an F rather than me for slapping the teacher.
I would probably look at your family and see what kind of how they are reacting to situations that they don't like, and if they are like the angry, physically abusive type, I would be like, oh well, he acts like that because of their family, and maybe that could be taken out to a broader societal level, but usually I don't think that like violence against teachers is a cultural thing that can be that's usually broadened out that much.
Right. So do you think there are any societal? You said you don't think there are any laws that are racist, but do you think there's a societal I don't know, something in society that is racist? Do you think people are still racist today?
Well, of course, people are still racist. Today there are people.
Like in average, if you took 1,000 people, would most of them be racist? Or how many of them would you say would be racist?
So, are you asking me how many have implicit biases, or are you asking me how many are bigoted?
How many of them? Okay, define both of those.
So, implicit biases are going to be judgments in which you have in your subconscious about somebody based around immutable characteristics that you probably don't like explicitly believe.
I think then you would say everyone in that room has an implicit bias, so let's go with bigotry.
Okay, I think that there are the average person is not a bigot.
Okay.
But I am really glad that you recognize that everyone has implicit biases.
No, I said that you think that.
Oh.
I don't think that at all.
Oh, okay. Then I misheard you.
All good.
I have a question though. Do you think that conservatives have more of an implicit bias than the average person? That's what you mentioned before, right?
You said it. Yeah.
I think so probably, but like I would appeal to any type of study that may be out there about that before I would actually just like go with my only my feelings.
We could talk about this because this isn't really a debate because we're trying to. I feel like if we talk about that, it won't really be a debate, but I want to talk about it. What do you think conservatives have an implicit bias against?
What do I think conservatives have an implicit bias against?
Or yeah, why do they have? Why do you think they have more of an implicit bias than other side of the aisle?
I think that conservatives are probably more so than the average person enclosed in their area. They're mostly in rural areas, which are largely white, and that they don't really interact with people of other backgrounds as often as like the average person.
You think racism stems with not being around the other races, with not being around them as much?
I think that a lot of people have implicit biases because, and I think that even like explicit racism, a lot of that stems from a ignorance of the people that you have these biases against.
Okay, well, wouldn't it be a systematic issue though, because those racist people probably had racist parents that were told to be racist by the government?
Yeah.
Okay, so
I think that the system can instill racism in people for sure.
I find it kind of weird how it is true in a sense that if you go back far enough, then there's probably something else you can blame it on, but that doesn't help anything. It doesn't help further anything. You're not helping anyone by talking about it, at least in my mind.
All right, so you want to know what recognizing the effects that race has on people.
Yeah, everyone recognizes that 50 years ago, our society was much more racist than it was today. And
Mhm.
that's not what conservatives are trying to stop teaching.
Yeah, so if you were to look at something like 1350, you know that stat, right?
Yeah.
A lot of people that you would see like say spouting that stat, do you think that they are trying to say, hey, societally speaking, there's a lot of things in society that is causing the black community as a whole to commit more crime? Or do you think that they're like, black people are criminals?
I mean, it depends on who's saying it. People like Ben Shapiro, I know that's where it got famous from. I don't think he was trying to be racist. There's this page I follow on Instagram, and the people in the comments are quite racist. Yeah, and when they say 1350, they usually mean it as in you should never trust a black person. So I would consider racist, sure.
Why do you think Ben Shapiro would be spouting the 1350? Like, what is his goal in that?
I forgot the context and what it was, but it was he was debating someone, and I forgot what they brought up. I'd have to see the clip. I genuinely forgot what it was.
Okay, so I think that it's useful to talk about these things because it would probably get rid of a lot of biases that people have. So if you learn about implicit biases and you recognize them in yourself, you can work to get rid of those. If you have an explicit bias against a race, but you an explicit, like you're a bigot,
Okay, sorry.
and you have this belief that, oh, black people are criminals because they're black, and you learn about like how society affects people's criminal aptitudes, criminal tendencies, and how the past had put people in black communities in situations that would later lead to their what is the opposite of ancestors?
Present?
Their lineage?
I'm not sure. The opposite of ancestor?
Yeah, like I would say they're my ancestors. What would they say when talking about me?
Your ancestors?
Yeah, my offspring. Offspring doesn't sound right.
Oh, your kids. Oh, yeah.
No, okay. Anyways, yeah.
Also, hold on. Not to interrupt, but Tyler wants to join
Okay.
this debate, so I'm gonna add him. Okay, yeah. Sorry, keep on going.
Yeah. So, if somebody who's a bigot believes that black descendants, thank you, Adrian. Yeah. So if
where's Adrian in the debate? Is he in here?
in my chat.
He's on the live stream. Yeah.
Oh, you should join up. You should join up.
Did you hear that, Adrian? Riddle says you should join us.
Yeah, Adrian.
Okay. So if you have somebody who's like explicitly bigoted and they believe black people are criminals because they're black, especially like some kids middle school age, and then you learn about how being from poor neighborhoods can lead you to Adrian says sure lead you to committing crimes at higher rates, and how black people were black people's ancestors were put into poor neighborhoods, therefore their descendants, thank you, Adrian, will be still in those neighborhoods and therefore more susceptible to higher crime rates. It could lead you to not having those bigoted thoughts anymore. I gotta find a way to get the link to Adrian.
Also, Riddle, If there are 3 people over there, I'm gonna need your help, man.
What are you talking about?
I need you to speak up now, because I'm
Oh,
about
why?
to get epically destroyed.
Oh, you think you're gonna get destroyed? I think you've been doing well so far.
I don't know, man. Against 3 people, you know how it is.
Well, I
I've
mean,
debated
sometimes
the
you
other
have
side with 3 people on the list,
to do
so.
that. Sometimes you have to do that.
All right, wish me luck then. Pray for me.
I wish you luck. If you really want me to tag in, I will, but I'm trying to just be neutral here.
You're like my ability. I can tag you in when I need.
Yeah, it's like the Street Fighter game. Yeah, you can use that combo.
Okay, Adrian, the link should be in the chat. Let me know if it's not.
Oh, by the way, what's up, Tyler? Good to see you, man.
Hi, Tyler.
Oh, it's all good. I'm just glad you're here, man. It's good to see you, man.
I'm here.
Good to see you.
Yeah, that's off the top of my head. That's one useful aspect of teaching these types of things to people could have.
Do you think they're not already taught? The fact that years ago we had a racist society?
Yeah, we were not not in those words, but I don't think that we are taught the we aren't given the link. We aren't told like how that actually, at least not in my school. Maybe that's changed, and maybe it was different in other schools back then. But we weren't told how that society affects those communities today.
The fact that because of redlining, they now live in poor neighborhoods.
I didn't even learn about redlining in school.
Okay, me neither.
I
was
learned-
gonna say slavery, but then I said redlining because it fit better.
I learned about Jim Crow and slavery and how black people couldn't go to the same theater or that they were lynched. I was never ever told. I was never ever like given the connection to
Isn't it
that.
kind of like Isn't it kind of obvious? Like I feel like it's not been said because it doesn't need to be said.
Well, you say it's obvious, but you've been disagreeing with this this concept this entire night.
No, not that concept. The concept that black people, because they had because there are racial prejudices against them in the past, that could affect where they are now. What I'm disagreeing with is that you seem to be putting a lot of not pressure, a lot of what's it called when you
Emphasis.
Yeah, emphasis. Thank you. You seem to be putting like way too much emphasis on it. I think that yes, in the past, of course that happened. I'm not disagreeing with that. And in the present, it could still affect you. I don't think it affects what you do as a person. I don't think it affects what crimes you commit, or if you leave your son and your wife. I don't think that affects anything.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Go for it.
Power!
How does teaching certain parts of history in school relate back to
Aladdin!
How does teaching like the racist part, like the racist America's racist past, relate to critical race theory?
Yeah, how does that relate to
What is your definition of critical race theory first?
I would believe the legal theory of my Garrett
Aladdin!
and coined by Kimberly Crenshaw, a feminist communist in 1990. Critical race theory summed up briefly the idea of using affirmative action in terms of our legal system. And then it branched out into schools after that, into like higher education, not like younger school. I would argue that what you're saying isn't critical race theory, it's critical race theorists teaching what critical race theory taught them to students.
Okay, I
kind of just use critical race theory as an umbrella term of progressive ideas that that have to do with
Well, hang on,
how
Fork.
we treat 2 races. Yeah, go for
Yeah,
it.
hang on, because he asked Cluck the question directly, so.
Yeah,
let's-
yeah.
Let's let Cluck guy.
I don't. So I don't think that, like, by that definition, the strict legal theory that was brought up 40 years ago, I don't think by that definition what we were talking about has anything to do with CRT, but I also don't think that that version of CRT is being taught in at least not lower grade schools.
No, not at all. No, not at all. That's kind of why, like, I see a gap. That's what I'm trying to fill in is like critical race theory in terms of like a legal stance. It's much broader than I'm representing. I'm just giving you a quick summary.
Yeah.
You want to get somebody that's against it, sum it up. James Lindsay has like 8 hours on just specifically critical race theory, and you can find people like Ibram X. Kendi and shit like that for it that'll explain it. Ibram X. Kendi is a really explanative book. I don't like to say it's good, but it'll pretty much sum this up from his perspective as well. But one of the things he calls for is like a council, a tribunal within government that would look at offenders of laws and see, like, okay, X amount of black people per capita committed murder. We're not going to charge them, some of them, with the full consequences of their action because we want to apply I'm using my own paraphrasing here. They want to apply a form of affirmative action to how laws are carried out. And what the result of that is with the whole slave and master-slave dialectic that kind of comes from critical theories in general is that the master, the oppressor, the person that has whiteness is the one holding back people that do not have that whiteness. There's varying levels of whiteness depending. White adjacent is something they use when you talk about Asian people. White adjacent because their skin color is light enough to not offend white people, so they're allowed to succeed in the United States. And Jews are another white adjacent. So the result of that is that whiteness dominates the country, and that is kind of what's being taught in schools to a degree. There's a book that's meant for third graders. It said that like a deal with whiteness is like a deal with the devil, and that you have to like repress your whiteness. And there's a lot of stories of parents going to parent-teacher conferences and they'll say things along the lines of, my kid was taught that they were inherently racist because they were born white, and things like that. That's what was being taught in schools. Is like the conclusions you come to after being taught critical race theory in college.
Okay, so real quick, Adrian said that they joined. I don't know if somebody
Yeah,
wants.
he's here.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Oh, hey.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm a bit stoned too. I wasn't expecting to do anything tonight, so if I ramble a little bit, just
Nah,
cut me off.
it's all good. I think this fine.
Could we get Adrian and Tyler? Could you guys both say what you think about it? Should it be taught in schools? Is it being taught in schools in the first place?
Oh, sorry, you first.
Hang on. No, hold on. Adrian first because he just joined up.
Okay. Well, I guess I would say I don't know if critical race theory is being taught. I would kind of agree with Tyler's view that it is. Well, actually, I don't know if you went into this, Tyler, but it's basically a graduate level law field, and it's basically dealing with, okay, so if we understand that the way the law is set up is to oppress minorities, how can we use that knowledge to undo that harm? And I think that idea in itself, I mean, at least to me, makes sense. But as far as like whites are evil or anything like that, well, first of all, I don't know if it's like conclusion from CRT, but I definitely know it's not CRT.
Yeah, so something that Tyler says that there's examples of like teachers, parents saying that their kids came home and said, "Oh, I was taught that my skin color makes me evil," and in parent-teacher conferences and stuff like that. I just want to point out that like there were 130,000 schools in this country, 3.2 million teachers in this country. I am sure of all those schools and all those teachers, there probably are some examples of teachers teaching really shitty shit to white people. There's probably hundreds of examples over time of that happening. I don't think that that's a convincing enough. That's not convincing enough to me to like say that this is a widespread problem in this country that really
You don't
deserves.
think that hundreds of parents coming forwards and saying that their kid is being told he should feel bad because of the skin he was born with, that's not a big problem.
No, what I'm saying is I don't think it's the nationwide problem that it's been made out to be.
Tyler.
hundreds of
Tyler,
parents.
go ahead.
It's not skin color. It's not skin color. It's
Oh wait, hang on, Tyler.
White.
Can you speak closer to the mic? So for some reason it's not picking up.
Yeah, sometimes.
Yeah, okay. So it's
There we
not
go,
skin
perfect,
color
thank you.
particularly. It's actually whiteness. It's like a state of being that you can denounce even though you have white skin. It's the white supremacist when you hear it from a leftist. They don't actually mean like a neo-Nazi. They mean like somebody that wants to keep the current system of the United States as it is because white people are the ones that benefit the most from it.
Wait,
That's
what
kinda
do you
what I
mean by whiteness and you can get rid of it? Because even liberals say they can't rid of it and they feel guilt for it. Or at least
you
the
can denounce your whiteness.
very
And,
far left.
yeah. And you can do things to try to like apologetics for your whiteness. And it's essentially anti-racism is this generation's version of reverse racism. Something we saw in like the 80s and the early 90s. It's kind of the same thing where it's taken to a more extreme. Like the idea on itself of okay, yes, black people were oppressed in the past. We should probably do some things to help them out. Yes, absolutely. And I think we've done a huge amount of things over the last 50 years to help alleviate black people. That's where the vast majority are not in poverty; they're in the middle class and upper middle class. But that all being said, like this is taken to an extreme. It's the whole microaggression idea where every time you watch a commercial now, you can see a mixed race couple and things like that. And I'm not complaining about that. This isn't offending at all. I've been all mixed races. Haven't dated a white chick in like 15 years. But the idea behind it is to push a view of diversity, which can be harmless in many ways. When taken to its extreme, it does tend to lead toward anti-whiteness.
Yeah, and anti-whiteness is bad.
Oh, sorry.
Anti-whiteness is bad. Like if well, I guess maybe if you're talking about the academic definition of whiteness, but I don't like that term because it was such a dumb term to use for those concepts.
Real quick, if I want to just address the actual point that you're asking, should this be taught in schools? I believe that's up to the parents that vote. We have a public school system. Everything's about what the voters choose, who they choose to put in. If you don't want to hear that, you vote with your feet. You don't want your kids involved in that, and you can't muster up 51% of the vote to change it, you move somewhere else, because that's how the country works. So if a parent doesn't want their children growing up in competition,
I agree with you. I like you a lot. I like what you're saying. But if your child was going to a school and they had you hold a vote, would you vote for them to learn it or for them not to?
I'm a strict individualist. I don't know. I advocate for a colorblind society and moving forward, giving everybody equality of opportunity.
Okay.
Do you think that poor people have equality of opportunity
Compared to who?
compared to like a wealthy person?
Generally, yes. I grew up very poor, and I would say that my opportunities were there.
Do you think that you have equality of opportunity of someone like of like Donald Trump's kids?
It depends on what you mean by opportunity. I can't go to the best schools, but I can go to a school. I went to college for free. I left with zero debt because of government assistance, and they actually kind of paid me for the time I lost on work.
Okay, but you still don't have the same opportunities as Donald Trump's kid, right?
Not the same exact, but I do have the same opportunities. If I wanted to be a doctor, I could have just taken out some loans and become a doctor. It's just like Donald Trump's kids. That's what I mean by equality of opportunity. Like, of course, they're going to go to better schools. Their parents can afford it. There is also a meritocracy on the ability to teach. And if a teacher is better than all the other teachers around them, they're going to request more money. Thus, it's going to cost more to pay them. Thus, they're going to be able to get more money at a private school. So that's just kind of freedom of mobility and job market.
Do you think that things should be done? So, like, I took it to the extremes with Donald Trump's kid, but like when you take it to like you can even like take this to more of a middle ground where like a person who has to whose parents are kind of mid to upper middle class is probably going to have more opportunities than a kid whose family is upper lower class to lower middle class, just by the simple fact that you may, if you're on the lower end and you want to go to college, you might have to work during college, and that's an extra barrier in which you have to jump. Whereas somebody whose family was afford to take care of you while you're in college, they don't have that barrier.
I mean, it's not like that's a lack of opportunity, though. The opportunity is the fact fact that you can go to college. The conditions that you're in when you're in college, if you have to work a little bit harder, it sucks. I worked 2 jobs going through college. It sucks, but that's still the opportunity for you to go to college and have that better life is still there.
But if we could work to lower as many of those barriers and lower the most egregious barriers, because maybe you might say that, hey, having to work during college isn't a very big barrier, therefore I don't want my government doing anything about this. But like, would you want to lower as many of those barriers, especially the more egregious ones?
If we could find any that were left, we've done a ton on this. And again, I went to college for free. The Pell Grant is a massive push for people to go to higher education, but the higher education is only one route as well. Like maybe you're shoehorned and you don't want to take out that loan and you don't want to apply to get the grants anymore. Maybe you're shoehorned into trade routes trades route as well. But trades pay great. My brother's a fucking union welder and he pulls in 6 figures.
But isn't the fact? Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt.
I was just if you could tell me like a barrier that still needs to be closed, I'd hear you out.
Isn't the fact that people are shoehorned into any thing like in that way? Isn't that show you that there's not equality of opportunity already in the system?
Well, that is equality of opportunity. What you're talking about is equity. There's a difference between equity and equality.
There's a likelihood that your location, where you grow up, is going to dictate what you do professionally. Absolutely. I mean, we can't give everybody the exact same city to live in, or make them all the exact same height and strength and things like that. So there's always going to be these differences. The opportunity part is them to go to college or get a trade job or get a good paying job to make their lives better, to raise them into economic prosperity. Statistic pre-COVID as well, because the economy went all over the place during COVID. 54% of people in the country see poverty income for at least a year. 70% see the top 20% of income earners for at least a year. This is all in the New York Times. If you look at the census data, when you're young, uneducated, don't have a lot of work experience, you tend to see poverty more than half the time. When you're in your mid-30s and have that experience, chances that you're going to make it to the top 20 income earners is 73%.
Okay, so do you think that there are people in this world, in this country, that the barriers in front of them are so insurmountable that the average person probably couldn't make it past them?
0.01%. I would say that. I mean, there's a people with physical and mental disabilities. If we
I'm not even talking about them.
Yeah, economically, yeah. I would say maybe 1%, maybe less.
Okay, like a kid who doesn't know where their next meal is coming from. You wouldn't say that that's like a significant enough barrier to be able to be like, oh yeah, I can understand why he's not doing well.
I mean, in that circumstance, in the United States, the way that we give food out to low-income people, if a kid isn't getting food in their mouth, it's probably because of neglect of the parent.
Mm-hmm.
If it's neglect of the parent, they're probably going to neglect them on an educational level as well. That's a whole big bag to unpack. Like, how much do you want the state to step in and educate your kids if you're neglectful? Too high for that one.
Okay. Oh yeah, and there's people who like. So I work at a prison and I'm a counselor. So I see the most. I talk to some of the most neglected, some of the people that have had the largest barriers put in front of them. Most of them is due to shitty people in their lives. Like the kid who's given the needle at 11, 9, whatever. Like what do we do with people like that? You can't just say individual responsibility. There's got to be systems in place to try and help these people as much as possible.
I'd say. Oh, sorry.
Oh yeah, you're preaching to a choir. I don't know.
I'd have an idea.
What's up?
I probably wouldn't give millions of dollars to make electric buses in New York I probably wouldn't fund foreign wars, and I would probably try and get a better education system in place instead of teaching kids why, because they're white, they're racist. That's probably what I
Busing
would do
system.
personally.
You're talking about financials, but we already spend more than any other nation in the country per student, or in the world per student on education. The money's there. The money doesn't need to change. The education system has to change in other ways. It's not financially. So like we could spend.
Take away the Board of Education.
I have a
other
question. I have a
unions.
question about that,
Screw the
Tyler.
teachers'
When it
union.
comes to that. So if we're spending even more money on the education system and it's not getting any better, then what's the point of it? It needs to be restructured, right? I'm not saying defund the education system, but it needs the Department of Education should be completely either rewritten, restructured, or just done away with. Because look what the teachers union did
Yep. Yeah.
during COVID.
Teachers union and the Department of Education are two completely different things. That I think that if we were, school voucher program could really cripple the teachers union a bit. A lot of states like the unions. That's why they haven't gone away. They've gone from 35% of public employment to 7%, so they have been going away a bit. But it's actually I'm sorry, I meant private, not public. Teachers union is public.
Yeah.
I don't think the education system is the problem. I think we're having a bit of a clash with a powerful union, and it's not. I'm making a video right now on kind of the failures of the school system. One of it is that our rate of students and student growth and teacher growth is pretty even, and then if you look at administration growth, it's like 10 times the rate of student growth over the last 30 years. It's fucking ridiculous how much union money goes to people that aren't even in classrooms, and they have situations like rubber rooms where if a unionized teacher is accused of sexually assaulting a student or doing some other big thing, they're put into a room and paid their entire fucking salary and just go to work and read the newspaper and fuck around on social media. So like,
Yeah.
I agree with you.
a lot
Yeah.
needs to be
I
changed,
agree.
and
If you restructure that shit, it's ridiculous.
But I don't think it's the Department of Education's fault at all. I think it's the union's fault.
Well, I mean, but they entitled it. I mean, they're the ones that make the actual real structure of how the schools work. Department of Education needs to absolutely be restructured. Same with the teachers union. I mean, let alone abolishment. I mean, I don't want to be like radical here, but I would say that I wouldn't be opposed to an abolishment of either or.
Yeah,
Now, it does need to be reformed just in a positive way. I just don't see that happening because the government never has the good intentions of people. It just never works that way. It just doesn't.
the Department of Education just kind of is an overall education standard for all the states. A lot of these problems take place on the state level. You don't see the same problems in Georgia that you see in New York. With
Why was
teachers
it-
union.
Why was it nationwide then that the teachers unions just like protested going back to school during
Teachers
COVID? It
unions
was
move
ridiculous.
across state line. Absolutely. They wanna
You
go
think that
across
they
state
don't?
line.
Do you think that they? And I'm not trying to like conflict with or anything like that. I'm just trying to say, do you think that like they don't work together, like the Department of Education and the teachers union?
I mean,
Yeah,
to a degree, they do. I'm just saying that the Department of Education, in terms of public schools in certain states, the union's got them by the balls in a lot of ways. Like, what are you gonna fucking do if every teacher in the state is legally mandated to be in that union? And that union says, "We want this, or go fuck yourself."
Yes,
What are
exactly.
we gonna do?
Yeah, it's a point. That's what I'm saying. It's like, yeah.
But
So-
I don't blame the Department of Education. I blame the teachers union.
Okay. Well, I mean, it's a fair standpoint. So I'll just respectfully, slightly disagree that I think it's both of them.
I believe in our liberal institution.
Oh well, look, that's classic liberal. Things are different nowadays. Things have shifted, you know. Which is why I kind of like you. You're classic liberal. Like, we may disagree, but like you have good points though. At least you're fair.
Yeah, I try to be.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't. That's going back to CRT. Like, I don't want anybody else to want to jump in here and talk about it.
That's okay.
Anyone got anything? to
Does
say?
anybody? Yeah. Adrian, liberal. Do you guys?
Oh, not on that. I don't know anything about the teachers unions and the perceived problems that they have.
I sent you a couple of videos and DMs after this.
I'm going to be much more persuaded by like articles than videos.
Oh yeah, if you actual justice warrior covers it,
great. That guy's
Seems
great.
like he seems like an honest dude. When he makes mistakes, he admits it and shit like that. He seems like an honest dude.
I mean,
I
like,
listen to articles and shit.
CNBC will like also call themselves out in their mistakes sometimes too. Like,
Okay,
I-
so you're referencing a mainstream article as opposed to a independent reporter, right?
I don't take YouTube as like a valid source.
Yeah, but here's the thing: if they reference like links and they give them in the description, which they usually do, would you be willing to look at those?
I would look at the links. Yes, I would look at the links.
Okay,
Yeah.
there's at
I
least
mean,
that.
I'm with you on that, man. The mainstream media gets it right a lot more often than alternative media does. Like, if you watch Jimmy Dore, his dude is saying shit that ain't true like every fucking 30 seconds.
Mainstream media? No, I mean mainstream media. Mainstream media knows exactly what's up, but they don't. But they spin it and they twist it. That's the
But
problem.
what I like more about independent journalists is that mainstream media gets it wrong more because, like liberal, like you say, they jump on stories as soon as they come out. They don't wait for anything.
Yeah, like
real journalists that go independent. I agree. Like Matt Taibbi.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
Matt Taibbi was pretty good. Yeah, that's very true. He's respectable.
But like YouTubers, like I wouldn't trust actual Justice Warrior if I hadn't watched all his content and see like he seems like a stand-up guy. Watch him debate, he's honest, chill. But yeah, no,
Yeah.
I'll get you some articles and shit. But yeah, I want to try to jump back to CRT if everyone's all good on that.
Yeah, no problem. And by the way, I'm letting the rules a little bit loose here. We can hop to other topics and
Yeah, we can.
just because it's not a big debate right now. So yeah, anytime
I am
if you want, unless somebody else wants to say something. So, Cluck, Adrian?
No, I was waiting for somebody to say something that like I can respond to. I don't have anything else to say about CRT or the teachers union.
All right, that's fair. We can leave it at that.
I got two things I'm working on right now: the Biden impeachment hearings. I can tell you guys about that and argue about that. I'm doing a deep dive into everything that Mike Johnson, every major thing Mike Johnson has voted for since he took office in 2015. They have like a 6-page document right now.
Oh, the speaker of the GOP right now, right?
Yeah, I'm on the Wix channel Monday doing a debate over Mike Johnson, and I'm
I
gonna
couldn't
be the most
say
fucking
much because
fair.
I hate politicians.
So do I. I don't have any like faith in Republicans, and I don't have faith in, especially at the moment, Democrats. No offense to anybody, but I think it's a uniparty, and there are things that need to be changed on both parties for sure. That's it. When it comes to that.
I like most of them, about 95% of them. I think they're all good people that are just doing what they think is best for the country 95% of the time. So I'm the exact opposite.
I would disagree. I would say that there's a small amount of politicians on Congress or whatever you want to call it, whichever house, the House, the Congress or whatever. Like I don't think that they're actually good faith for the most part. I think a good amount of them are, but not. I wouldn't say 95%. I would disagree with the percentage. That's about it. I would just the percentage. That's it. So.
I think that's probably.
Things I'm expert on right now.
I think there's probably a lot of corruption in the individuals in government.
Both sides are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, both sides for sure. I agree with that. I think both sides are pretty messed up. But
but we do see things like Hunter Biden on the board of Burisma. He was there with Nancy Pelosi's kid. He was there with fucking Kevin Archer is John Kerry's stepson. I think, or is that true?
I have no clue.
I don't know.
I'm pretty sure that's the case. I think Devin Archer is like John Kerry's stepson, and Nancy Pelosi's kid, Mitt Romney's kid. They all worked on these fucking same boards in foreign countries and shit. So there's a lot of that going on.
Yeah, they work together. Let's be real
I
here.
did-
It is true.
I don't even know that like that type of thing is the most egregious thing that happened within our leaders. I mean, because like, how are you going to stop?
Adrian, hold on, one sec. I think Adrian wanted to say something, and I would like you to speak if you're good.
Oh, well, I mean, you guys are already on a topic, but I thought there was a lull, so I would have asked a question, but I mean, you guys seem to have a topic.
Oh, okay. I mean, would you like to ask the question before we move on to the
Sure.
next
So
one?
you guys were talking about like both sides and how they're a unit and everything, and so I was wondering, do you guys think a third party vote is a wasted vote?
I don't think
Yes.
so. Personally, I don't think it's a wasted vote. I think like it should be. I mean, in some aspects it is because it's not going to go anywhere because the two-party systems have absolutely dominant control. But I think that the idea should be entertained. Like we do need.
It
Let's be
should
real
be
here.
entertained, but at the moment it is a waste.
It is. Yeah. Okay. That's fair. Yeah. It is technically a waste, but I would absolutely vote for it if it was practical.
Yeah, same.
If
Unfortunately, it's not.
it's going to depend on your perspective. If you're a person who doesn't think that one of the candidates is like this egregious, like you don't support both candidates, otherwise you wouldn't be voting third party. But if you if you don't actively dislike what another candidate you think another candidate's going to do for the party, then it's probably not a wasted vote from that perspective. But like for me, I don't want to see like the extra cruelty that Donald Trump put on our border, or I don't want to like put our democracy at risk in the way that electing Donald Trump probably would. So like me voting for a third party would really feel like a wasted vote, even though I don't necessarily. Well, actually, I support Biden now much more than I did when he was elected in 2020. But like if I didn't support Biden.
Oh, interesting.
Really?
Okay.
I do too. Yeah, same. But let me answer that. real
Yeah. Interesting. Okay. Well, yeah. Go ahead.
I'd say the third party vote, the way I would break it down is if it's a waste or useful, is short term, long term. In the short term, in that election, absolutely not. If you want your third party to win, too fucking bad, it's not going to happen. But you do need to work for decades sometimes to build that coalition. And maybe it's 1%, maybe it's 1 year, then the next year it's 3%, and then 5%. It'll grow if you stick with it. So that to start a movement, it's definitely worth it in the long run. Short term, though, you ain't getting shit for it. Besides, you're telling the party you'd normally vote for that they turned you off this time. And it's hard with exit polls, you can kind of read out why. So
Listened, we got in the app. You downloaded the app.
Pretty good right now.
We made this all.
We can talk about that.
Okay.
That's an interesting topic.
Yeah. Let's talk about that.
I
Biden's
mean,
doing good right now, is he?
Biden can be defined in one word.
I didn't mean physically, I meant policy.
Okay, so the Democrats are doing good right now, right?
Yeah, the puppet master Barack Obama is doing a great job.
Is he really though? What's he doing? What's he doing? What's he doing good in? Because I would argue that it's not as good as you would think.
Let Liberal go first since he brought it up first, and then I'll back him up.
Sure.
One of the things that I really, really like that Biden did, and just because it personally affected my life, is the SAVE plan for college debt. That's not even like a huge thing that's going to affect a lot of like broad things, but like the SAVE plan is amazing. I went from having to pay $300 a month on my student loan to $39, I think. The infrastructure plan is pretty cool. Everyone likes infrastructure. Well, okay, so yeah, well, those are two big things that I think.
What do you say about that, Riddle?
Yeah. Well. Okay. Well, where's the first off? Let's talk about the student loan debt forgiveness. Is what you're talking about, right?
No, well, I mean, I guess in a way you could probably look at it like that, but it's
that's what it is. That's what it was. It was actually he tried to make it broader, but it was denied by the Supreme Court. That's what happened, and it was unconstitutional because what happens is you make a choice, and who gets to pay for it?
Me.
Yes, we all do. So not all of us go to get these degrees, right? Nowadays, they're certainly not needed, and it's absolutely weaponized. But that's a story for another time. So, anyways, yeah, I would disagree that that was a good decision, but also it was minimalized, and that might not even affect you. Does it affect you directly, by the way?
Me, yeah,
Yes. Oh, okay. So you qualify for that.
yeah, the SAVE plan. My payment went from if I didn't have anything, it would have been $300 a month to $39 a month.
Okay, so your degree, you don't have to tell me, but does it
It's
make you money?
human services, and not really.
Human services. Okay, so they're promoting these topics, and it's not making you anything. So who's at this point?
Who,
And I don't mean to make it a personal thing. I'm trying to be respectful here. Do you think that that might have been a bad choice?
No.
To go into that?
So human services is a degree that's supposed to prepare you for the what's called helping fields. So you could think things like counselors and psychologists and psychiatrists and stuff like that.
Okay.
And I think that I learned. I didn't learn as much as I probably. I didn't learn $40,000 worth of stuff, but that just goes into like how overpriced our college system is. But I definitely learned things while taking those classes that I apply to my job as a prison counselor.
So right now your
Well,
job is a personal counselor?
A prison counselor, a counselor for a
prison
prison.
counselor, okay.
Yes.
I see.
I don't know why. You guys could answer this for me. I don't know why mainstream Democrats are pushing for other people to pay for their decisions. Why don't we just do things like actually make big pharma lower the cost of insulin? Like,
Oh,
or
that's
like tell
yeah.
colleges, how about you raise your crazy extreme prices so you can just pay your teachers who do nothing but teach kids like dumbass lessons.
Okay, so I don't think
Yeah,
that most
that's
teachers are doing nothing but teaching kids dumbass lessons.
no,
But
I don't
Like
well,
tenured
hold on.
professors.
Some.
Well, hold on. It's not. It's yeah. There is some. Yeah. It's that's a bit broad. Yes. But if you want to be, let's be accurate. Then, let's just focus on the main topic that I was discussing, right? So, all right. So you chose this, and it was $40,000, right?
yeah, that's what it ended up being.
So, with this bill being passed, not everybody qualifies for that, right?
No, it's income based.
Income based. Interesting. So, you doing your job right now, you don't qualify for that.
No, I do qualify.
But you qualify for that. Okay,
Yeah.
so you make enough or you make less?
I make enough to qualify for the SAVE plan, which is based off of your income. You pay 5% of your discretionary income to your student loan, and that's it.
Okay, but it used to be more of a percentage as opposed to.
So it was 10%, and now it's 5.
So 5 to 10%, but you said it was 300 as opposed to now it's like 40
That
or
was
something like that?
so that was without that was without any type of income based repayment scheme. I don't really know what it was back before. I think it was like $100 something, but I wasn't paying, so I didn't actually have like an idea of my student loans didn't start till COVID, so I wasn't actually paying student loans. So I only had estimate for what I would have had paid should should I not be on any type of income thing.
So this is basically an inaccurate estimate of what you're saying the Biden proposal plan did for you.
No, it's accurate because I'm paying now. It's 40. It's
But
the
you gave
inaccurate
me-
part could be the $300, but that's what I was told.
Right, but the implication was that that was 300 and that's how effective it was for you. But you negated some information there, which was pretty necessary for how effective his policy was.
Okay, so regardless of if it's $300, $200, $100, that's still a great
That is
thing
a
for
big-
me.
That's a big deal. I mean, that is a big deal to people.
Yeah.
I understand. Now, it needs to be accurate when you portray like how effective quote
Okay.
unquote his policies are. You need to accurately give these kind of dollar amounts because monthly basis is very important.
So
So if it's like
the only
$30
information.
opposed to 300,
Okay.
you understand that that's like a
The-
200. That's a
Understand
that's
that I
a very
gave
big
you
increase.
Riddle. I gave you the information that was given to me by my loan servicer.
Okay, then why did you portray it inaccurately?
What do you mean portray it inaccurately? My payment, what I was expected to pay by my loan servicer went from 300 to 39. I never actually made a payment.
Okay.
And I would fair to guess that it was more accurate than it was inaccurate, because they're a loan servicer. I know they make mistakes and they are having problems right now, but they are probably going to be more accurate than not.
All right. That's all right. Well, I think that you kind of need to be accurate sometimes when you propose like why you're defending.
I gave you the best information I had based off of a company that literally does that as their business. Like,
Yeah, but you have to ask, like, you have to just come on. You know that comes off as like, okay, why are you supporting Biden in this way? Because you like this policy, but you're leaving out details as to how it affects you. That is a not
okay. So I was
that's not honest.
preparing my budget for anywhere between $100 to $300 a month, and now I'm prepared. I only have to prepare my budget for $39.
All right. So how let's we can move on. That's fine. If anybody else has anything to say about that, go ahead.
The save plan just changes how much you pay per month. It doesn't actually change how much you're paying or your interest rates, does it?
Yes, it does.
The
So
law pros and cons I can link in chat right now says it doesn't really change your interest rate.
well, it doesn't change the rate, but it changes how much you end up paying in interest. For one, if your discretionary income, the amount that you would pay on your loan doesn't cover interest, then you're paying 0% interest anyways. For two, under the save plan, you are expected to make payments for 25 years, and then whatever you got left is forgiven. So regardless of if you got a 10% interest rate and you're just paying off your interest, as long as you're paying those payments for 25 years, you're going to end up having your principal wiped away.
Has this gone through the Supreme Court yet?
I don't think it's being challenged, but it might be. I haven't actually looked at it, but it's in effect now. So
Yeah, but it doesn't start until next summer.
So
No.
can I ask you real quick? Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Respond if you want.
I mean, I'm already making payments based on my save plan payment plan, like.
Okay, so can I ask you, but since the federal interest rates are increasing like drastically, it seems almost in my opinion, it seems like it's every 3 to 6 months at this point. It's a 1% increase, which is pretty drastic. And they don't have any plans on stopping that at the current moment. Do you think that these interest rates are going to hurt you in the future, even though you're paying lower now? It's gonna probably cost you more money in the future, wouldn't it?
No,
Especially how much
I'm going to be paying 5% of my discretionary income for 25 years, and that is it. That is what I'm going to do.
Unless you're a graduate, then you pay 10%.
Unless you're okay, that might be a thing. I'm not a graduate, so yeah.
All right. So that only applies to you. So the saving plan only applies to. Is this a blanketed plan, or is this only for people that qualify for certain things in certain regions? This is a nationwide thing.
I just posted a citation in chat that explains the entire thing, like pros and cons. It's very nice.
Yeah, I don't trust Berkeley. They really churn out a lot of. Dude, I've seen the worst. I've seen the worst people come from Berkeley. This is a personal opinion, by the way. I've seen the worst people come from Berkeley that work in HR, and they literally just come out as. That's a story I'll tell it for another time. But they're like racist, and trust me, they're like quote unquote woke. Sorry about that. But...
Yeah, but this is the law department. I'd say
oh, the law department. This is exactly where I saw them from because I used to work in a law firm, in a law firm for 4 years. So yeah, that's exactly where I saw him at, and she got fired within 2 months because she was so bad. Anyways, sorry about that. Just Berkeley triggered me. I'm sorry about that. Anyways, I'll check it out. Though. I'll check it out.
Has any more points on Biden? I was waiting for him to finish.
Yeah, that was the first topic, but the second topic was what?
The infrastructure plan, which I would probably have to do more research
the infrastructure
to talk about in depth.
I mean, yeah, the infrastructure plan actually, we can both do like more research, I guarantee you. But from what it sounds like, from what I've seen, and yeah, it just seems like there was a lot of a lot of things in there that didn't need to be. Like, for example, infrastructure. The word has been changed as opposed to social investment, as opposed to like actual technical infrastructure when it comes to roads, bridges, schools, buildings. Like that's infrastructure. Then they kind of changed the topic when it comes to that term. So it's the money just kind of goes wasted, about half of it or so. At least it seems that way. And don't quote me on that. I'm just saying like there's a lot of fat like pork fat on that shit, as they say. Pardon my
What
language. But
what is a social spending item that you would have preferred to not seen in this infrastructure? Do you have one?
yeah, I would prefer that they would focus more on STEM as opposed to social like sociology and stuff like that. Because STEM is a program that needs to be focused on and promoted more. But they promote social issues as opposed to like actual science and technology that actually helps us out.
Which
So,
part of the infrastructure plan does that? Like,
which part of it? Oh, I don't know. I can't give you like a clause or a line right now. I would have to like pull up the entire thing. It would take.
oh, I know, but like, if you were to say, oh, well, they are, they put money into hiring more gender studies teachers instead of math teachers, then that would be like, a general thing that would be like, oh, okay,
Yeah, I
yeah.
mean, if generalized, yeah, I would say that they should probably invest more in like just STEM programs and stuff that actually is practical, or anything that's even like teaching like a wood shop or machine shop or even physical education, like stuff that actually benefits us as opposed to something that just makes us ideologically think sometimes, which I'm not against ideological thinking. I'm just saying like I think the emphasis should be more on practicality as opposed to ideology at the moment, considering how we just have failing rates of math and science, and we're just plummeting.
I
It's
might have
just
missed
not good.
something. What is this? What? How does this tie into the infrastructure act again?
Yeah,
Just,
well,
I zoned
it's not
out.
because of social. Hold on, I'm being asked two questions right here. So I didn't say
Oh,
that
okay.
social programs. Well, because Zaruhev is. Speak up, please. Go in the stage if you want, please. It's hard to um, answer both questions at one time.
Oh, my bad. I see what I see.
Why? Yeah. Why should infrastructural spending exclude social programs? Yeah. Again, I never said that. I said that it should have that. I just said that it should be more emphasized that we should focus on STEM as opposed to social programs. Right now, it's being focused on too much, and at least that's the excuses in the bill sometimes. So if you want to pull up anything in the bills, I guarantee you're gonna find something in that giant omnibus bill that it will be going towards social programs, and who knows what that's being utilized for. So yes, that is part of the infrastructure. So infrastructure has changed, is what I'm saying, the definition of when it comes to passing bills. It's not going straight, everything is going straight to like actual infrastructure. So that's
In
my only
fairness,
point.
though,
You should join
it's
the
called the
Race
Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act, so it's more than just infrastructure. 550 billion of it is going specifically to infrastructure and things. Like, I'm looking at like cybersecurity attacks and weather disaster. Oh, they want to build protective infrastructure.
Weather disaster.
Electronic-
Yeah, okay, so how do you do that? So, it's like, what does that include? Like, what does that entail? Like, what's the actual definition of that? So, usually what happens is that you say something about that, and it turns into something else. It's just wording. Like, okay, weather protection. Okay, what does that mean? Climate change? Like, what is that?
It could mean that, or it could mean like what they did in New Orleans after the hurricane. They built like a seawall that resists hurricanes. They haven't flooded since.
Well, that's fine,
That
but they
could-
need to be
that-
need to be more specific about it if they're going to
Yeah.
say this. Otherwise, the funds will get funneled elsewhere, and
Well,
it's just it's an easy way to divert money, I suppose.
Sure, yes, but a lot of that money will sit idle until they agree on some way specifically to spend it as well. There's appropriations bills that come after that. And something I'd like to see as well with the loan, the safe. I'm looking into the Safe Act more. I kind of skipped over it. It's not bad. I would like to see that the leftover debt that the government owns colleges, I'd like to see a commission that acts as like a broker to negotiate with the college. Like, okay, you got 100,000, and they still owe you 20,000, but we're gonna give you 5.
Aladdin.
That would be a good way to finish that process.
That would be interesting. Yeah. They
Yeah,
just
like
have
a
like a
government broker.
Teal.
government broker. It'd be fun to see actually.
But yeah, like things like so that these things kind of they don't really have the appropriations yet, I guess, to spend these in specific ways.
Yeah, and
They're-
they pass it though, and it's at a great cost to the taxpayer, and it's a part of the reason why everything is much more expensive as it is, and our deficit is just not decreasing. That's for sure. It's just like it needs to be more monitored. It needs to be less corrupt. At least it needs to be. And I know this is broad. I get it, but like it just needs to be like less willing to spend so much and start focusing on more like on actual real infrastructure by definition. Not social programs are not actual infrastructure. Infrastructure is actually like it's supposed to be physical, but definitions change nowadays. So that's the problem that I have with this omnibus bill about infrastructure.
Okay.
Yeah, again, it's called the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act, meaning it's three things.
So
It's
that's
not
the problem. It needs to be focused on. Like there's too much broadness in there. You could easily fit everything in. They always propose these thousands of pages of a bill, and nobody's able to read it. They either have to pass it or not. Otherwise, it looks bad to the public.
Well, you can pull a fire
That's
alarm.
always what they do. Yeah. You could. Yeah, sure, you could do that, but that's illegal, isn't it?
I mean,
So
it,
Well,
it happens.
no, it was a fire alarm.
That's pretty funny.
Come on now.
No, that's pretty funny though. That's good. It's a good one.
So you have to kind of remember the context around this. This is a $550 billion infrastructure plan, and they use that infrastructure plan and tack down essentially what they were referring to in the media at the time of skinny build back better. So the jobs and investment part of the Infrastructure Act was Biden's Build Back Better policy is after they'd lost a bunch of times and been broken down over and over to essentially be compromises that the 50 votes in the Senate would agree on. And then it was tacked onto the infrastructure bill to give it extra support. So that's the history around this and why it had to be an omnibus bill in the first place.
Yeah, that doesn't make it any better though. Like just tack it really doesn't. Like it just makes it like it was forced through. That's unfortunate. And that's a flaw in our court system and our not court system, but our politics. The way our government works, it's really just a problem. It comes at it's like yeah, it's just a general problem for all of us, like no matter who we are. So
Matt Gaetz, that was one of the points that he made about Kevin McCarthy's ouster is he was sick of like giant appropriation bills that like allocate hundreds of billions of dollars in funding.
Yeah.
And you have to do this giant bill all at once, and you don't get enough time to actually debate the details on everything that this money is allocated to.
yeah, it's really fucked. It's really I'm sorry. It's really messed up, man. Like that's just how it is. It's always how it goes.
Is
They
there
pass it
enough?
nearly every time?
Is there enough time in the day to debate every little line item?
Yeah,
They
if they
got-
actually did their job, they would actually have the time to do that. Yes.
A debate
got
amongst a debate amongst what do we got in the 200 and something people in the House and then 100 people in the Senate?
Yes, I would
Like,
think
they
that they would.
spend-
It's their job. They're intelligent
Well,
beings. That's their job. To
I
do that.
understand, but there's still only a finite amount of time to do
They
things.
spend about 50% of their working time in fundraising.
Yeah,
Got
it's all like campaign stuff. It's
It's
ridiculous.
all campaign shit and advertising and PR and all that shit.
It is true on both sides. It
Calling
doesn't matter what
people
side
and
it is.
begging for money. Yeah, calling
Okay.
people begging for money, emails, fundraisers, shit like that.
Yeah. If they actually focused on the bills, they would absolutely be able to do it. But they
That's
don't.
why when they rewrote New York and they had to get rid of one Democratic seat, AOC didn't go because she's bringing a ton of fucking money to the Democratic Party.
Yeah, so that's pretty fair. I think that's a fair perspective on that one. So I would just say that yes, even though it seems like, but here's my disagreement, I guess. In the end, I'm not convinced that Biden is really doing well, considering how the economy is at the moment. I'm sorry,
I didn't
just
think
have
you'd jump in. That was gonna be my point.
yeah, Yeah, because you're gonna say, oh, what you mentioned before, all the jobs and stuff like that, and you gotta include seasonal jobs, which you did before, and you said if you exclude rent, was it food and what was the other one? Gas. Yeah, everything that's that's supplied by life that we need. If you exclude all that, the economy is doing great.
There's a bit
So,
more, but yeah, like
all right, that's fine.
mortgages haven't really changed. But that being said, like those, the reason that those are excluded isn't my call. The way that they factor the inflation rate in the country excludes those three intentionally, just because you see so many changes that are unrelated to inflation or the economy in those particular sectors. There's an explosion in the middle of the ocean and oil's leaking out everywhere. Gas prices are going up, and it has nothing to do with the state of the economy. That's like, so they removed them from the equation decades ago. That's how inflation rates are measured. So that type of inflation has gone from 9%. I think the last quarter it was 2.9, maybe 3.1. I can't remember offhand. Again, I'm high. Sorry.
No, it's all good. No, that's fine. I appreciate the
4.9% economic growth last quarter. And again, a bit of that is.
Well, hold on. 4.9% economic growth as a national GDP?
Yeah.
No, that's impossible. That's ridiculous. That's not at all how it goes. 4.9? That's not accurate. I guarantee you that's not how it works. On a national average, the U.S. has been increasing by about, what, 2%, or I suppose, if you want to just average it out.
No, Trump got up to 4.1.
Yeah, Trump did, sure, at the time.
So wait, you believe that Trump could do it, but Biden,
yes,
the economy
yes,
is impossible?
I think that, yes, absolutely. Do you know why?
Why?
Because of how Biden handles, what's it called? Domestic and foreign policy. For example, domestic, he cut off all the gas lines, all the projects that we were trying to do. He just did that, and that affected the gas prices heavily. And yes, there's some foreign wars that happened that it contributed to the inflation as well with gas prices. But why do you think that they invaded under his presidency? What do you think that is?
Okay, so real quick, what specifically did Biden do that would like you consider cutting off our projects?
Okay, so they're from Montana to Canada. I believe I forget the name of it, but it was a
The
pipeline.
Keystone XL pipeline is what you're talking about.
Yes.
Yes, so
that was one of the major factors. That was just a part of it. So here there is a psychological level that affects the market. It's not just that.
Can we
So when you're nixing a lot of oil in gas projects, the market will react to how you're just putting policy in place. So it's not just that. It's not the physical aspect. It's the mental aspect in the market. So that's why our prices went up immediately. I mean, that's a part of it. The part of it.
I will concede all those points. There's a list of 88 economic and political policies taken against the gas and fuel industry in Biden's first year in office. Your talking points are all 100% correct about his first year in office. Almost all of them are out the window now.
Out the window now? What do you mean?
Yeah, gas is down. He's been negotiating with Saudi Arabia, the UAE. They're going to start opening up production. They are. They came
okay. The one that he wanted to make a pariah, right? He wanted to say there was a pariah state, and then he goes over there and then says, "Oh no, well, can you reduce these prices because it's midterms right now, and we need to make me look better in the polls." So that's usually what it is.
Year one of Clinton was an absolute disaster as well. Joe Biden's first year was an absolute train wreck. All that shit's back on course. All those drilling's going back on. All those permits are going out. All that our market's opening up again. Cost of the barrel is going down again. Inflation's down again. It's going down. It's not.
I would just prefer
down compared to how it was before Biden was back in.
Are you going to compare it to COVID time?
Yeah. Well,
we can compare it to COVID time if you want to, but that's not what we're trying to do.
I'm just comparing it to what it was at when he was at the first year of him being in office.
Oh, okay.
Now, Joe Biden is to blame for a bit of that inflation. He did attack the fuel industry. He did a few things in terms of regulation and spending that did, but that shit was coming. That inflation was fucking coming, no matter who won in 2020, because Trump did pump trillions of dollars into the economy. 4 trillion from the Fed, he kicked it up to 8. Trump dumped in 3 trillion in policy money. Biden kicked it up, I think, another 3 trillion more. So Biden is to blame for some of that, but so is Trump. That shit was coming. It might not have been as bad.
I mean, I understand you're partially correct on that one, right? Like, yeah, you pump money into the economy. Sure, I agree.
Well, I mean,
what happened. Yeah.
a big part of that also is that there wasn't any production because of the pandemic that was going on at the time. You could pump
Okay.
money into the economy, and typically
That was the last year. We're talking about the first year.
first
My
year.
state was shut down for like 3 weeks.
But
We went back to work
over.
and work.
So when we're talking about the economy, we're talking about the world economy. And just because your state was shut down for 3 weeks doesn't mean that like production around America and the rest of the world wasn't faltering.
Faltering, yes, but it wasn't shut down. Frontline workers included people that worked in food industries, farms, everything.
Yeah.
The country was still chugging. It was kind of chugging on safe mode.
Yeah, but you don't think that drop in GDP would affect the prices?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm completely
Yeah.
saying inflation, of course, a lot to do with COVID, but it's a lot to do with Trump and Biden's responses to it as well. That's kind of more the point I'm making. You're right. I just think you're kind of a little bit.
Well, generally speaking, you can pump money into the economy as long as your GDP is not slowing down or faltering, and you're not going to see that much inflation.
To a degree, yes, but I think that there's other factors at play for that. As we pump more money into the economy, we also see income inequality rise. I think that the steady rate of the average person in terms of gain has been pretty steady for, whereas you see like a huge cliff for the extremely wealthy. I think a lot of that money we're pumping into the economy is being taken back out and hoarded, and that's an unintended good part of income inequality is it staves off inflation.
Can I say something actually to add to your point? Not against your point, to add to your point. That when it comes to like, for example, pumping money in the economy, like when it comes to what's it called? During COVID, it was the relief. They gave us like stimulus checks, like 3 times, I believe. Now, who does that really help? The amount of the money was not practical. You would have to apply for PPE loans or whatever the hell it was, PP something like that. But they would stimulus check us for about like I think it was like about 1,200 each check until the last one was about 600, right? But that really only the way it was spread out is not going to help you cover rent. It's going to help you the lower income people just spend more on luxury stuff, luxury items, whatever you want to call it. So I think in reality, that money just went back to the rich people that own all these companies, and it really just appeals more to the people in poverty, I suppose, lower income people. It's a nice check, but if you're already low income, you're based off of a government basis, right? You're based off of welfare, and you still qualify for it. So that money, that $1,200, where do you think that's going to go? It's going to go partially to food, sure, whatever you need, but they're going to just spend it on luxury items, and that's what happened.
I can tell you a lot though where that money went during COVID when we first put out the first stimulus check, and you got to keep in mind that enhanced unemployment was also going on at that time as well as PPP. So people were getting other sources of income. The United States had a lot of money going out to their people. We saw savings spike for the first time. People had like the amount of people that had 4 to 5 figures in the bank, I think, was a record for like the last 50 years. So a lot of people saved that money during the early pandemic when everyone was unsure. I think I bought luxury. I bought a fucking Oculus. So like,
well, you got an Oculus? We should play sometime.
Yeah, I do. It makes me a little motion sick, but I use it for working out. But like, it's like, yes, once I realized it's just the fucking flu, That's when I went and spent my money on luxury items. I helped use it for the down payment of a car as well.
It's just the
So
Hold on
Yeah,
a second.
I-
What do you mean by it's just the flu?
it's the
Here we go.
enhanced. It's the flu advance.
Oh boy, here we go.
Because we
It
can
is-
debate COVID if you want.
I
No.
agree with Tyler on this one.
Of course you
I still
do.
want to argue my Biden's good on the economic level argument. We kind of tangented off.
Oh
got
yeah,
a
that's
couple
okay.
more points
man.
to that.
I just we can agree to disagree. That's fine.
Yeah, it was a little worse than the flu. The average death rate was like 3 years higher than the average death rate of natural death. The life expectancy rate, sorry, that's it. And the life expectancy rate also spiked during COVID, spiked down during COVID due to overdose deaths and deaths of depression and shit. So
That
it
is
was
true.
at a pretty low rate.
That is very true. I'll be right back. I'll be right back. 1 second.
Wait, so are we discussing COVID now, or are we still on the economy?
Well, he's gone, because we can go off on our tangent while he's gone, and then I'll get back to the economy when he gets back.
Okay, so when you say that it's like the flu, do you buy the do you believe the COVID death numbers that the CDC came out with?
I'd say that there's been some credible articles saying that there's still a little bit of puffing up in those numbers due to the fact that if hospitals are incentivized, they get a bigger payout in some way, shape, or form. It's been years since I looked at a lot of this, but hospitals are incentivized to say that people died of COVID rather than a different cause. So there have been people that their deaths were misdiagnosed, and there's like memes about it and shit and jokes about it. But for the most part, I'd say like in states that they've actually done studies, you saw the death rate come down about 12%. 8% I think was another one. So let's say 10% of the numbers might be inflated, and 90% are still accurate. Absolutely.
Okay, so how many people do you think died of COVID that didn't get diagnosed with COVID, especially in the beginning?
In the beginning?
Especially in the beginning.
Specifically United States based?
Yeah.
Okay. I'd say not as many to really boost those numbers up more than just a couple percent higher. Maybe there's definitely probably some, but I would say let's say 90% of the deaths that we count are accurate. Maybe it'd be 92% if you include those numbers.
So you think that the rate at which hospitals were committing fraud and considering COVID deaths, non-COVID deaths, COVID deaths for the money is higher than the rate in which people who were not going to the hospitals, perhaps because they couldn't afford them or for whatever reason, died of COVID and wasn't counted.
What they're doing would technically be considered fraud in like the legal sense, but in the colloquial sense, yeah, I would say that they were committing some sort of fraud and over-enhancing the specificity of COVID in particular deaths. And again, I could find you, I think 2 states at least audited those numbers, and the numbers came down 12% or 11%. It's been 2 years since I've had this discussion, so I can't tell you offhand, but it came down to approximately 10% in the 2 that I looked at.
Okay. So even if we are counting, even if we are saying that there's about a 10% inflation of COVID deaths, 2022 was the last year that I was able to find solid numbers for, because 2023 for some reason, when I look up COVID deaths, I get all year COVID deaths, but I can find one specifically for 2022. So when I say all year, I mean the only COVID deaths I can find is for 2020, 2021, 2022, or all 3 of them combined. I can't find one specifically for 2023 so far, but 2022 was around 200,000 deaths due to COVID. So if that was inflated by 10%, we would say that there's around 180,000 deaths due to COVID.
Yeah, roughly.
Okay, so my understanding is that a bad flu season is 60,000 deaths.
I think it's like 60 to 90, yeah.
So how in your mind, why is these two like a comparable thing?
I don't think those numbers are that far apart, especially
Really?
in comparison to other causes of death. Yeah,
Over double?
yeah, that's not that far apart, especially in comparison to other causes of death. You bring
Well,
up the
here's
causes of death chart.
yeah,
Medical
it's the
errors
causes
like
of death,
5
right?
million a year. Yeah, like
Oh,
seven
all the
different-
time. Yeah, I actually agree with that, and unfortunately, it's a reality that they do try to fearmonger sometimes to push an agenda, right? For example, the vaccine, right? Which, by the way, Operation Warp Speed was pushed under Trump, so you could blame Trump for the vaccine if you want. Now, I was against that because you need research in time, right? Like you need to have proper research for vaccines to be practical, right? So if you inflate, like, and when I say inflate, I mean misrepresent the actual COVID deaths, then yeah, you would absolutely fearmonger the people into actually trying to have these have these vaccines that you think that you need them. Otherwise, you're gonna get so sick or you're gonna die and or something like that.
So
Some people overhyped it, but I mean,
okay,
really.
Oh, some people
The-
overhyped it. Come
wait,
on,
hold on, hold on.
it was the media. It was the
Hold
mainstream
on. The
media.
claim
For a fact.
that I am specifically fighting back is that that COVID is like the flu. It's similar or the same as the flu. That is a specific claim that I am trying to fight back on. So that would be like me saying heart disease is the flu, when heart disease kills.
That is ridiculous comparison, actually.
Okay.
A bit more. Heart disease, I'm looking at, is about 633,000 a year.
All right. So if you're looking at the 20,
I think
wait.
that's actually the main cause of death in the U.S. Right?
So yeah, it is. So if you're looking at the 2021 numbers, because if you did a cause of death, if you're looking at cause of death charts by America and you just Googled it like I did, 416,000 deaths in 2021 due to COVID.
Okay, due to COVID. Okay, so what they say is due to COVID. Is it really strictly just COVID, or is it due that they had COVID while they died? And for example, look at also other numbers like New York. Remember Cuomo? He wrote a book about how he was so good about that. However, it turns out he had the highest death rate because he didn't focus on the actual people that were susceptible to the COVID.
Yeah. So the number that me and Tyler have gone with, based off of a study that Tyler has seen, we're assuming that there is a 10% inflation of the COVID numbers, for the sake of this argument. So that would be 360,000 deaths due to COVID, with the inflated numbers taken out.
I think 10% is a pretty humble percentage compared to the inflation.
Well, there were studies done on it, and that's the number that apparently they came up with.
I understand the studies. I get that. Like, you want to show me the studies, or like who's approving of the studies? Because there was a huge politicization of the studies that was actually being put forward. Now, there is a book that I read on this. It's called The Plague Upon Our House, written by Scott Atlas, who was actually the epidemiologist. He was the only one on the board on the team that actually knew about how epidemics work. So it was all about how these statistics and what do you call it? These charts, these studies, they're all basically advertised improperly in order to make us fear. That's pretty much all it was.
So do you think that COVID deaths were around 60,000 a year? Do you think that that's what we had for COVID?
In the U.S., no, probably
Yeah.
higher.
Like how much higher? Well, what did y'all's guess? Because you guys are shooting down every single one of the numbers that I am pulling off of sources. But what is y'all's guess of how many COVID deaths there was?
I guess
think what they said
I
about
heard
COVID is
600,000.
Huh?
By comparison to the flu, COVID is 2 times as more contagious and 3 times as deadly, is what they said about COVID specifically.
Okay.
Yeah, but who said that? And which demographic does that apply to? Because they also told us that that COVID didn't affect children, which it doesn't. You get rare instances, but they also said that it's the children. That's why they should shut down schools, right?
No, you were shutting down. No, you weren't shutting down schools because the children could get sick and die from it. You were shutting down schools because the teachers and the children's parents and grandparents could get sick and die from it.
Exactly. That's the point. That was the point, right? But it turns out that wasn't even
No, that is
evidently
true.
true.
Yeah, no. The
because,
children.
No, because you're comparing. Look what happened with Florida. Look what happened with Sweden. So where was the differences there? Where was the
Much
differences
better
there?
rates of protecting their elderly than like I think it's like 35% of Michigan's COVID deaths were linked to long-term elderly care home.
Yes. So
So
if you have to focus on who actually is susceptible, okay?
Yeah, which is
That's what
grandparents.
they didn't do. They lied
Which,
about it.
which is
So you can't
grandparents.
trust
Wait,
you
wait.
can't trust government
Are
organizations.
are
when it
are
comes to
older are grandparents taking care of their grandchildren? Are they not susceptible to COVID?
that. No, we're talking about nursing homes, dude. Like we're not talking about
So
like
only old
people.
people in nursing homes are the ones that are susceptible to COVID?
well, that being said, like grandma and grandpa just can't come over for a couple of
I
months.
said
Well,
it,
that's
more
why schools.
susceptible.
That's why schools were closed though, because they didn't want the children to bring home the
Yeah,
COVID.
and closing schools will ultimately the greater evil as opposed to leaving them open.
Yeah.
Okay, because it led to more
Closing
child abuse, it led to more deaths, it led to
Exactly.
more suicide rates, it led to more all that stuff.
Well, I'm just
People
well,
were
so,
older people were afraid to go to hospitals because of COVID, the fear of COVID, and not getting their appointments, like
so
much needed.
so yes, those things.
You need to look more into this.
No. So what I am saying is that your claim was something to the extent of, oh, they said that children could get COVID, die from COVID. That's why we shut down schools. That I'm saying that that's not what the claim was. You can say that shutting down schools was a bad idea, anyways. And I'm not going we can look into that. I don't really have a strong opinion on that right now. I'm just telling you that the reason that you cited was not the reason why schools were being shut down.
Oh, you want me to okay? Well, do
You
want
know
me to
what's
cite
kind
you?
of funny? I
It
was
was
talking.
it was the life of the teachers as well. Teachers demanded that they be at the front of the line for vaccination before they opened schools back up.
Yeah, that's why I said. I said the teachers also. I said older teachers and grandparents and some parents who are older of children were susceptible.
Hey, by the way, Zaruhev, if you have something to say, you can speak on
She
stage.
left, bro. She left.
Oh, of course she did.
Dude, she said every single citation made in this debate is shot down as woke claptrap untrustworthy, and she hasn't shared a single citation. Not one.
Well, not even a good opinion on anything. It could just be an
Yeah, she
opinion.
literally hasn't even given me an effing source, and she's saying I'm not believing her her imaginary sources. So silly.
All right. Anyways, well, that's just annoying because if you want to say what's a woke claptrap untrustworthy? Who said that?
Well, I think she's talking about the numbers that I've been putting out as numbers for COVID. You guys have been saying, well, these are probably
No.
fake.
I'm not saying. I'm saying that they're misrepresented. I'm not saying those numbers don't exist. Like you need to look more into what the demographic is, right, and who they affect.
Yeah, so for a very long time, we have known that it mostly affected older people. So you remember that meme that conservatives don't care about grandma? That's kind of this talking point is kind of
I've never heard of that.
Okay. Well, that was a meme on the left. This talking point is.
Don't care about
well, we love our grandmas, dude. Come on.
Yeah, we love grandma. We just hate everyone else.
Yeah. So, but this talking point, whenever we talk about the numbers, everyone's all the other side. You guys are like, oh well, it's only affecting older people. So what?
No. I didn't say it was only. I said they were more susceptible to it.
Yeah, they are more. So what? We still want to protect. But we still want to protect older people, right?
Yes. Okay.
Yes,
but the point. Yeah, but the point.
That's when the lockdown stopped.
The point was what the CDC told us, and guess who was the main frontman of that? He didn't even represent the CDC. He was on the task force.
Yeah, I agree with you,
The
Makoto.
COVID task force was Fauci. He told it was that's literally what they called it. I shit you not. Like I shit you not. That's what it was called. It was Deborah Birx, Redfield, and Scott Atlas, and what's his name, Fauci.
Wait, so what does that got to do with what I just said about we still want to protect old people?
So what I was saying is that they told us publicly on media, and he went around campaigning about it because he was the public figure. It was actually Deborah Birx that emphasized the actual policies, but he ran around saying that we should have either double masks or masks aren't necessary. He also said that kids can't be affected by COVID.
Okay, so
then all of a sudden they're worried about COVID being affected for kids, but that's not how they portrayed it as.
So-
I understand. Usually, what happens is that they don't like the kids don't actually give COVID to the parents. They don't contract COVID. It's not how it works.
Okay, so
So you think they're gonna go back? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh my god! All right. So you said that Fauci's were saying, "Oh, we need double mask or masks don't work." No, Fauci never ever said masks don't work. He recommended
Yes.
again. No. He recommended again. Maybe you can show me. Maybe I've learned something new today. He recommended.
Remember that?
No, listen. I remember him recommending against masking in the very beginning because he didn't think he didn't think it would be necessary, and two, he wanted to save the mask for the healthcare workers. And then when it became apparent,
That's fair. That's fair. That's fair with the first part. Hang on.
Not. That was two different things.
That was two different things.
He said it at first that it would get schmutz on it. Is his exact words. People would fidget with the mask and get schmutz on it, and also that it wouldn't work for respiratory disease. And then a few months later, he came out and said the reason why they said that, something that you should mask, you should use cloth, you should use anything you can get your hands on. The reason he said that was secretly to save them for the healthcare workers. He got caught lying there. That's pretty well known.
Hey, by the way, Adrian, if you don't mind me calling you that, I'm not sure if it's too personal for that, but
I'd prefer Helio, but thanks.
Oh, Helio. Okay, I'm sorry about that. Yeah,
Yeah, no
I
worries.
appreciate you showing up, man. It's really nice. And if you want to chime in anytime, you're welcome to. And
Yeah. Hopefully I'll get. I don't know if you guys planned this. Hopefully I can get some preparation on my end. Literally, what happened was sent a message. The word descendant.
oh, I appreciate that, by the way.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah. No, that's all good. Like, we'll tag you in the next time we have an event or something like that. So
I appreciate it. You guys have a good one.
You too, man.
Have a good day.
Do you have the quote of Fauci saying that that people would be touching?
Yeah,
I found
I find it funny.
I found one where he said
There's-
there's no reason to be walking around with a mask in 2020.
yeah, that he started with
Yeah,
that,
that
and given his history, considering he's a representative, you know he was wrong about the AIDS epidemic, right? In the 80s, you know that, right? Like he has a
Pretty
terrible history of
He said you
being
can
a
catch it from a box of cereal.
Yeah. He just
Sharing
has
a
a
box of
terrible he has a terrible reputation, and like it's funny that people just took his word for granted. Not for granted, but like they took his word as law. It's like it's crazy.
So this is the quote. There is no reason to be walking around with masks when you are in the middle of an outbreak. Wearing a mask might make people feel a little bit better, and it might even block a droplet, but it's not providing the perfect protection that people think that it is. And often there's unintended consequences. People keep fiddling with the mask and they keep touching their face. That's what he said.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was asked,
What's the
you
case against
what, you mean you get schmutz on it? Schmutz was said in that conversation.
Some schmutz. Some schmutz. I'm sorry.
Because it made me laugh, dude, because I'm from New
Yeah.
York.
Yeah. Yeah, and he's Italian too. He's like I could totally see that.
There's a lot of confusion among people and misinformation
Hold on a
surrounding
second.
face
I'm
masks.
listening to a video. I'm gonna
Can
mute
you
y'all.
discuss that?
The masks are important
Wow.
for someone who's infected to
No,
prevent
he's-
them
he's-
from
he's
infecting
probably
someone
listening
else.
To a COVID thing, so it's all good. He's not like trying to ignore us.
Yeah, no, I'm muting the How the fuck do I mute on while it's popped out? It doesn't have the headphone mute.
Deafen yourself.
There's no deafen button
maybe
when it's
ser-
popped out.
maybe-
At the bottom left, where you see
Oh.
your name, video connected, stream video, there's a headphones thing that you click on.
Yeah, server deafen or something like that.
No, I got my window popped out. Is the issue, and it's different screen.
Your
But-
Discord?
yeah.
When
I threw Crystal and Sagar. It's a 6-minute video that covers it. She's
Well,
a commie.
No, it's not popped
You
out.
trust her, right?
Okay. Let's see.
There's a lot of confusion among people and misinformation surrounding face masks. Can you discuss that?
The masks are important for someone who's infected to prevent them from infecting someone else.
Okay, real quick.
Good job.
Real quick, can I say that he started that statement out with, quote, the masks are important for somebody who is infected, from preventing somebody who is infected from infecting somebody else.
Okay.
Yeah, but it turns out that wasn't actually accurate.
Okay, but like this is his first statement on masks that everyone's saying that he says that masks don't work or we shouldn't be wearing masks. This was also before we found out that asymptomatic people could be spreaders.
You understand, like there are different sources, and he has many interviews, this is like
Second video now.
yeah. There's more to it. Just go ahead. Like just watch the whole thing before you make an opinion.
Okay.
Klaus.
Okay.
I linked Crystal and Sagar in the chat. She goes over. It's a 6-minute video. She goes over, and it'll explain the whole thing to you. She's a commie. You can trust her.
Okay.
She's a what?
This is when they worked at the Hill, and the Hill has a very high standard of factual information. So.
Oh really? I disagree with you on that one.
I love it. It's my fucking favorite source.
You know what? That's right up that.
Now, when you see people and look at the films in China and South Korea, whatever, everybody's wearing a mask. Right now in the United States, people should not be walking around with masks.
You're sure of it? Because people are listening really
No.
closely to this.
Right now, people should not be walking. There's no reason to be walking around with a mask. When you're in the middle of an outbreak, wearing a mask might make people feel a little bit better, and it might even block a droplet, but it's not providing the perfect protection that people think that it is. And often, there are unintended consequences. People keep fiddling with the mask and they keep touching their face.
And can you get some schmutz sort of staying inside there?
Of course. But when you think masks, you should think of healthcare providers needing them and people who are ill.
Not. I think
The
it's a wolf in
people
sheep's
who,
clothing.
when you look at the films of foreign countries and you see
I don't trust
85%
Fox
of
at
the
all.
people wearing masks,
Besides, they're owned by Disney anyways.
Oh my gosh, I am so mad right now at how misrepresented this clip has been on the right wing. Maybe there's other ones, and maybe somebody, I know, I'll watch that one that you linked, Tyler, soon. But holy fuck, this is the schmutz one. This is the schmutz one. And it wasn't Fauci that said schmutz, it was the interviewer that said schmutz.
Damn,
That's what Tyler
Okay.
said. That's what
Interesting.
Tyler said. It could have
Yeah,
been.
yeah.
Okay, but no, what he's
He was
okay. So
right, yeah.
real quick, what he's
happened?
saying, what he's saying. So this is at the time before we knew that symptomatic, asymptomatic spread was possible. He's saying he's saying that it does help prevent the spread. If you have the virus, it helps prevent the spread. He said that. 2, he said it's not providing the perfect protection that people think it is. What he's referring to there is that people thinking that putting on the mask is protecting themselves, which is true. And that's always been the case. And that anyone who says anything different has always been an idiot. It's you're protecting
Telling everyone to mask.
because you're protecting everyone around you from your germs. So if everyone
But you just said that the mask protects yourself, not.
no.
No. Cluck said the opposite. It doesn't protect you.
Yeah, thank you. Yes.
It
doesn't.
spread it.
And that's
doesn't spread it.
always been the
Okay,
case.
my bad. I'm sorry. Yeah.
And that's always been the case. And people who thought that it was different, N95 masks are different. They actually do protect you. But anyone who thought it was any bit different is just an idiot. They didn't actually read up on it. But that's always been the case. And that's what Fauci's saying here. There's been no change. He even says in this interview that when you think about masks, you need to be thinking about doctors and medical providers. So it's not like he changed his story because he wanted to save the masks for doctors and medical providers. He even said in there that the doctors and medical providers need the mask. I can link the interview. It's a 60 Minutes interview.
That's wait,
the
hang on.
first one.
That's fine. That's the first interview. I understand.
Okay.
That. Yeah.
So if I watch this 9-minute video, I'll see all the interviews that prove that Fauci was like lying.
I don't know anything.
You know,
about
60 Minutes is completely biased, right?
It doesn't.
that's fine.
What fucking? They clipped this video because they knew
did
that
I
liberal
show
Cluck
you?
would. No, yes, you did. They clipped this video because they knew that liberal Cluck would be arguing this exact point on 11/4/2023, and they're like, "I'm going to give him a hand with this." Like, what does the 60-minute bias has to do with Fauci's words right now?
Where do I start from that? First off, maybe I should get triggered too.
Yes, please.
How
It
dare
makes
you-
it more fun.
How dare you motherfucker.
I wish you had a camera so I could see your finger wagging back and forth.
Yeah. I do have a camera. I just don't want to be on camera at the moment. That's all good. At some point.
Okay, so you just watched, hold on. You just watched that first video, correct?
Yes.
So did he say anything in that first video about how those M90 masks specifically were in very short supply and they should be reserved for medical professionals only?
This one, no.
Because that's what he says in the second video that he said.
Okay, but like when they were recommending, when he was recommending masking, he wasn't recommending N95s unless you were susceptible to COVID. He was recommending people use surgical masks.
He was talking about masks generally, and this is at the point where he's even saying cloth masks will help.
It does because it blocks droplets. It's not.
I think there's been an aggregate study done showing that masks for all are not based in sound data. I think they took how many studies? 67, something like that, studies, and went through the metadata of them all and showed not much change between mask mandate and non-mask mandates.
Well, yeah, you can't. If you're going to mandate masks but people still don't wear them, then you're not going to see that big of a difference.
People did wear them. What?
Yeah. So what the better study would be areas in which people were wearing masks versus areas in which people were not wearing masks. Which ones had a more spreading effect? How the hell do I get this thing off of being just me?
It depends on when. Early on in the pandemic, you saw higher rates of deaths in places like New York, New Jersey, Michigan, and it was because of the old folks' homes deaths, and that was earlier in COVID. Post when the vaccine came out, like 2 years after the vaccine came out, I think Glenn Greenwald printed this a few weeks ago. You saw a rise in a bunch of conservative states. It went from like the top 10 states being 8 Democrat in early years of the pandemic to like the top 10 states being like 7 Republican in the last like year and a half.
Okay. So if I watch this video, I'll see Fauci being a piece of shit liar.
I mean, I wouldn't say he's a piece of shit liar. He just got caught in a mistruth. Like,
wanted to bring you some pretty.
Oh gosh, you really linked the Rising?
I figured you would like it. It's
I hate the Rising.
Man, I tried to find something you would agree with. I could.
I'll give it a shot. So what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to. So what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to take the clips that these guys post as their proof, and I'm going to have to find the actual interviews to see everything in context to see if what they are saying about what Fauci is saying is true. Because you know what these motherfuckers did to Biden? They took a clip of Biden's telling a bunch of rich people nothing is under his administration, nothing is going to fundamentally change for them, and made it out like he was trying to promise rich people that they were going to stay rich. But what he was actually doing is telling them, hey, when I become president, I'm going to have to raise your taxes, and nothing is going to fundamentally change for you guys. But I'm going to have to raise your taxes.
He also joked about wanting ice cream when there was a mass shooting, and he was about to address it. And he also can't speak coherently for like 5 seconds.
Okay, that's true.
Biden's
cool.
platform was return to normalcy, so like yeah, that fits right into his platform. I mean, they are a little bit disingenuous, but I figured you'd like Crystal because she's left.
Hey, I'll be right back, guys.
I used to like the Rising. I did, and Crystal was my internet wife, but not anymore.
Oh look.
What happened? I like to use. You seem like you're a little bit to the left of me, so I'd like to use left-wing sources for you. So that
Okay. Well, I'm going to watch. Is there? This covers multiple things, so it's just the beginning. This Fauci, so I shouldn't have to watch the whole 5 minutes, right?
Yeah, with the white background, real quick, it'll show him basically framing that first interview a little differently than it was before. He definitely got caught. It was pretty well regarded across the political spectrum that this was a mistruth.
Okay, I'll watch it.
I just don't.
Stunning comments from Dr. Anthony Fauci, who basically just admitted why and how the government lied to us about the efficacy of wearing masks. Let's take a listen as he explains the real reason they told us not to do that.
What about a month or so, or 2 or 3 ago, when people were saying, you don't really need to wear a mask? Well, the reason for that is that we were concerned, the public health community, and many people were saying this, were concerned that it was at a time when personal protective equipment, including the N95 masks and the surgical masks, were in very short supply. And we wanted to make sure that the people, namely the healthcare workers, who were brave enough to put themselves in harm's way to take care of people who you know were infected, when personal protective equipment, including the N95,
told of where that.
what about a month or so, or 2 or 3 ago, when people were saying, you don't really need to wear a mask? Well, the reason for that is that we were concerned, the public health community, and many people were saying this, were concerned that it was at a time when personal protective equipment, including the N95 masks and the surgical masks, were in very short supply. And we wanted to make sure that the people, namely the healthcare workers, who were brave enough to put themselves in harm's way to take care of people who you know were infected with the coronavirus and the danger of them getting infected, we did not want them to be without the equipment that they needed.
It is.
Okay, let's find the full interview now. Or we only trust the government information if it helps our point. Yeah, it does seem like that. That's going to be a hard interview to find in its full, I think. The street, Dr. Fauci, we needed to save the mask. Why weren't we masking from the beginning? Oh, maybe it wasn't that hard.
Dr. Fauci, I want to ask you specifically about masks. Now, I'm in South Carolina right now, and there's not a whole lot of people wearing masks. So I want to ask you specifically, can you define for people what the role of masks is? And why were we told to wait? Why were we told later in the spring to wear them when we initially were told not to?
Okay, that's a good question, and I'm glad that you asked and to give me the opportunity to clarify it. So let's start with your first question. You know, masks are not 100% protective. However, they certainly are better than not wearing a mask, both to prevent you, if you happen to be a person who maybe feels well but has an asymptomatic infection that you don't even know about, to prevent you from infecting someone else. But also, it can protect to a certain degree, not 100%, in protecting you from getting infected from someone who either is breathing or coughing or sneezing or singing or whatever it is in which the droplets or the aerosols go out. So masks work. The important thing is actually physical separation. So physical separation that we talk about all the time is the best way to get a virus not to get to you. But often it's impossible physically, logistically, to be physically separated to the right extent from everyone. And that's the reason why we combine physical separation with a mask, even though a mask is not 100% protective, but it does give you some protection. So you shouldn't discount that. Now, getting back to your first question, which was what about a month or so, or 2 or 3 ago, when people were saying, you don't really need to wear a mask? Well, the reason for that is that we were concerned, the public health community, and many people were saying this, were concerned that it was at a time when personal protective equipment, including the N95 masks and the surgical masks, were in very short supply. And we wanted to make sure that the people, namely the healthcare workers, who were brave enough to put themselves in harm's way to take care of people who you know were infected with the coronavirus and the danger of them getting infected, we did not want them to be without the equipment that they needed. So there was not enthusiasm about going out and everybody buying a mask or getting a mask. We were afraid that that would deter away from the people who really needed it. Now we have masks. We know that you don't need an N95 if you're a person, ordinary person in the street. We also know that simple cloth coverings that many people have can work as well as a mask in many cases. So right now, unequivocally, the recommendation is when you're out there, particularly if you're in a situation where there's active infection, keep the distance physically and wear a mask. So although there appears to be some contradiction of you were saying this then and why you're saying this now, actually the circumstances have changed. That's the reason.
Okay. That wasn't a very good explainer. I'll give it to them. But I don't think he was lying. How the fuck do I unmute this shit?
$1 billion from their IRS package and put that $14 billion into funding Israel after they got attacked. And Debbie Wasserman Schultz was on the floor crying about it because they had to defund the, like literally crying, not like.
Oh, really?
Actually crying about it because she had to defund the IRS funding in order to get the Israel funding that she has to vote for her district.
Oh, shoot.
So
Well, I want to see
they're
that.
framing it like that in the public because they're worried about the youth vote, but they still support Israel and their policies.
Oh, okay.
The politician says that that's what they do.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm back.
Hi.
How was your expedition?
So Fauci didn't do a very good job at explaining things in the second clip, I think, but I still do not buy that he was lying in the first one.
I don't know anything about Fauci, so I can't even talk to you about it.
I mean, it's a high burden to say somebody's lying. It really is. I think you have to have proof that I don't have any goods for you.
I honestly think he was more wrong in the second clip because he made it out like surgical masks provided more protection for yourself than they actually do. I think that's probably the biggest problem I take away from those two clips. His first statements from every piece of research I've ever seen seem to be completely accurate statements, and it probably was okay at the time to discourage people from wearing masks. Because they don't provide that much protection for yourself. And if you are sick, then you probably shouldn't be going out anyways. At the time, we didn't know how fast this was going to spread. We didn't know how deadly this was going to be. And we also didn't have the PPE to provide for our healthcare providers. So it probably was a good thing to say, hey, you probably shouldn't be wearing a mask as a normal person. Then after we got the PPE and finding out that asymptomatic spread is a thing, it probably was good that the policy changed from you shouldn't wear a mask to you should.
I agree. But he says in the interview that that's what the first interview was. People were saying that masks don't help and blah, blah, blah. He was saying the reason we were really saying that we were worried in the medical community that we were trying on a mask for professional.
Yeah, but so he didn't say masks don't work. That's not what he said in the first interview.
I didn't say that. I said they don't provide the perfect protection. I didn't say he said they didn't work. I'm saying that he gave you a mislead of his intent in the first interview, when the actual intent of what he was saying was to preserve masks for medical professionals.
Well, in the first interview, he even alluded to, hey, when you think about masks, you should be thinking about doctors and surgeons.
He did allude to it, but he did not make the same conclusion he made in the second interview. He did allude to it. He did drop a little nugget in there. I'll give you that, but it was a different statement.
The conclusions are incredibly similar. The main difference between the two was that he made it out like masks provide more protection for yourself, a surgical mask provide more protection for yourself than they probably actually do. Like, that's the biggest lie of those both of those interviews. But
that's not what I'm talking about.
Oh, I know, but like everything else, there's no. I don't see where like the deception in this is.
I explained that to you. He said it in the second interview that was on that video. The reason why we were saying this is because the medical community was concerned we'd run out of masks. But he didn't say that in the first interview. He never said you shouldn't get a mask because we should preserve them for the medical community. That came like 3 months later. And then he tried to retroactively retcon his first interview. It's pretty stark, man. I don't hate Fauci. I thought he did a pretty solid job. This looked really bad on him, and people across the political spectrum agreed. He had everyone from I think someone on CNN was talking about it. I think I saw it in National Review. These are more mainstream sources, less fringe internet.
I don't know. You're saying he didn't say that we needed to save masks for medical professionals, but like within the context of that conversation, it wasn't really important. And he definitely alluded to that.
He didn't. He just dropped the nugget. What he was saying is the masks don't provide perfect protection. And the interviewer was like, yeah, you can get schmutz on it, you know? It's really, they were playing masks down. People were watching that interview trying to figure out how they should dictate their lives. And what they were told is, well, I mean, masks don't give you perfect protection and you'll probably fuck it up anyways. And they went, yeah, I guess you're right. I guess I won't fucking bother with that. And then 3 months later, he said the point of continuing down that line of conclusion was actually to preserve the mask for the medical profession. So it's misleading.
Okay, so you say he was downplaying masks. He said that masks are important for people who are sick to help spread the virus. He said the same thing in the second interview. He said that they don't provide perfect protection. He said the same thing in the second interview. He said that right now, it doesn't seem like in America we need to be walking around in masks. He said circumstances has changed in the second interview. He said that when you think about masks, you should be thinking about doctors and surgeons. And he said in the second interview that at the time we needed to save masks for doctors and surgeons. Like, I just do not see where this is a lie.
I mean, you said a bunch of things that he said, and I agree with all of them. And that still doesn't get to what he clearly states was his intent. It is misleading. When you say in the first interview you're playing down masks, yeah, maybe wear them if you're sick, but you're probably, they said it, you'll probably get schmutz on it anyway.
No, he didn't say that. The interviewer said that.
He said you do, yeah, he was asked that.
And that was still true. That was still true.
Perfect protection like people think.
And he said that.
Later, he's telling people to wear 2 masks, wear a cloth mask over your mask, wear a KN95 if you can, which is the most expensive mask. So he went from one message to another, and his reason for doing that was to tell people a false intention. It's misleading.
No. We're just gonna have to agree to disagree on this because he definitely, the messaging stayed the same. The only difference was that he was much more explicit about the need of the healthcare providers in the second interview. But he still alluded to that, which shows me that he didn't have the intention of trying to mislead anybody.
Yeah, I guess we just gotta agree to disagree there. It really looks bad to me when I watch both of those back to back. And a lot of people agreed with this. I saw it all across the political spectrum. I'm a slightly left of center. It's like slightly. Like 49% right wing, 51% left wing.
Welcome to the dark side.
Yeah.
You're getting there. You're getting there.
If we're at the end of that one, then can I get on my last point about Biden's good economy real quick? It was just going to be jobs and
Yeah, go for it.
No, you can't.
Higher job numbers coming in with Biden right now. You see a higher velocity of money, which is for anyone that didn't go to school for economics for any reason. The amount of times money changes hands. You see the velocity of money rising by like 40% roughly, meaning money's exchanging more, meaning people are buying more. We see the expansion in GDP, and we see these massive job growths. It means the economy is starting to get back on track as inflation goes down. And it's starting to look like there is an actual recovery process. So those are my 3 reasons why Biden's
All right, that's fair. Let's agree to disagree because it's all terrible. It's all bad.
which is fine, you know. Like I try like to get those points out at the very least.
No, it's all good. I appreciate it. I'm just messing with you, but yeah, I think this is pretty much concluded now, right?
Yeah,
Much?
I was hungry.
Yeah. No, you guys did great. Dude, Tyler, Cluck, I really appreciate you guys being here and doing this.
Yeah,
It does mean a lot.
guys.
I think it was really actually good, so I do appreciate it. And by the way, Cluck, in the past, I'm sorry for being mean to you.
Were you mean to me?
At some point in time, I might have told you to calm down
Oh, that's awful. You terrible person.
in an angry manner sometimes, you know.
Okay.
In an angry
It's
manner.
okay.
No,
I
but
don't take
appreciate
anything
that.
on the internet serious.
That's good. That's good. I do appreciate this. This is good.
Yeah, it was a good conversation.
Political disagreements are the heart of our goddamn country. There's nothing more American than what we're doing right now.
Oh, yeah.
It absolutely is. Like it's it's funny, but it's true though. This is the most American thing you could do. Like this is why I do believe that we have, you know, as much flaws as we have, we have the most freedom of speech for now. So, and this is what we do. This is what our country was based off of, and this is what we need to do. And I just appreciate everything here.
Oh yeah.
Before I go, can I just ask, is there anybody in around the 4K MMR range in Dota?
No, are you playing Dota?
I flat play the fuck out of Dota.
Oh my goodness, no. No, I don't. No. Well, you should stream it sometimes if you do.
I throw it on every now and then. But yeah, I just wanted to ask that. Yeah, it was fun, dude. Yeah, add me, guys. I love debates. They just sharpen your sword, you know? So the next time you're even smarter and better.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, that's exactly what we need. Because they want us to be stupid, and they want us to not talk about this and not be civil. And when I say that, I mean, you know, I guess it's another topic, right? But like the government and yeah, I'll just say that. Yes.
The Nazis and lizard people living inside the Hollow Earth. I know exactly what you're talking about.
God, yeah, you just read me so well. I knew it. I knew you knew it.
That's my favorite conspiracy theory.
All right, I want ice cream. Y'all have a good night. Thank you.
You guys too. Have a good night, man.
I do not understand how one can watch those two interviews and not see it as this intention to lie to the public about masks, and not just a misunderstanding that was purposely perpetrated by the media, right-wing media mostly, and alternative media like The Hill, in order to make it seem like Fauci was egregiously trying to lie. I mean, every point that he brought in that second interview was repeated. Every point that he brought up in that first interview was repeated in the second interview. He had more emphasis on the need to save masks for medical workers. And I guess he didn't say anything about any type of fear of mask shortage in the first one. At least not in the clip that I saw. Maybe there's more to the interview, but like, holy shit. I don't see how that you can look at those interviews and see them as like being so starkly different that he was lying in the first one or lying in the second one. That's crazy. Anyways, I'm going to go get some ice cream. Y'all have a good night, and thank you for tuning in, and bye-bye.